for April 23rd, 2019. We're returning from executive session, and we'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. We'll open the meeting with public comments, if there are any. Does anyone wish to address the board? Yes, Tom?
Good evening, Tom. Good evening, Tom Sullivan, West Yarmouth. I have a question for the chairman tonight. Last week, you released a press release in regards to the lawsuit. I have a question. Was that press release approved by the Board of Selectmen?
We talked about it, yes.
Did they vote on it?
I'm not sure.
Because I believe they should vote on it according to our charter. I just want to bring this up to your attention.
Okay.
I had it here. Hold on. Bear with me for a second. It's in 3-point-something section here. It clearly states here from the Selectmen, members of the board shall possess no individual authority unless such authority shall have previously been granted by a vote of said Board of Selectmen. That's why I've asked whether or not you had permission as chairman to issue that press release.
Generally, when it comes to press releases, the board discusses those and authorizes the chair or another board member or a staff member, in fact, to follow up with wording changes that may be appropriate and then to issue the press release.
So what? So, I didn't see anything in our public meeting.
I just don't recall the specifics, Tom,
right,
at this point. We've had a number of press releases over the last several months having to do specifically with the lawsuit and also with a variety of other things. So I just don't recall the last one.
Yeah, because I really think that anything that deals with the lawsuit shouldn't come from the chairman, should come from the attorney.
Well, like I said, Tom.
Yeah.
We have discussed those. So.
I know, all right, you have discussed it, but in the future,
well,
you should get a vote from the full board.
We'll address that as a board, and we do authorize.
I know they do. I know they have in the past. Yeah, well, I understand that.
Okay.
But in this particular case, I don't believe it was authorized by the board.
Okay.
Because there's no record of it.
I don't recall specifically. I just don't recall the wording at this stage. But
all right.
Well,
maybe it should be brought up and discussed by your board members later.
No.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vita Morris. I want to kind of follow up to what Tom just said. I think to clear up the situation, I would suggest that the minutes of the executive sessions be released immediately so that we know. I know that there is a protocol which states that, the executive session minutes do not have to be released until a matter with which they deal has been resolved. However, since it's already been put out to the immediate world, I think you may have lost that privilege. That's my thinking. And I think the taxpayers and the voters have a right then to know exactly what went on in the executive sessions. So to resolve the question that Tom just asked. And I mean immediately, not a year from now or 2 months.
Thank you, Vita. That's enough
right.
on that subject. We're going to move on because it is.
No, I need to say something else.
Vita.
I need to say something, not on this matter. I mean.
Sit down.
Excuse me.
Sit down, please.
You need to move. You need
please.
to pass the gavel to somebody else. I need to. I have to say something. Where does this put the?
Thank you. Are the mics back on? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? Yes, good evening.
Kurt Sears for the record. I was reading the packet. I noticed there's a new committee being formed tonight, or proposed to be formed. And one of my concerns looking at it is that it's another committee full of appointees from other committees. You know, I think we either need to look at committees that are more broad-based or limit I don't want to call it subcommittee, but assignments from a committee to another committee. So you don't have, say, a planning board member on 3 or 4 different committees. Or say, you know, whatever else it is. I noticed looking at the a proposed charge that it's mostly made up of other committee members and not so much at-large members. So I think you ought to think about that.
It's a good suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you, Kurt. All right, we'll move on to our 6:15 item, which is regional school agreement update. I'm not sure if we have any specific items on that at this stage.
I think we just speak to the issue that we were noticed that I believe on May 14th. Is that correct, Jay?
Correct.
There'll be a preliminary hearing for the case at Barnstable Superior Court.
It's a hearing on the district's and Dennis's motions for judgment.
It's 2:15 in the afternoon.
15.
Okay, so that's May 14th. All right, fine. Okay, anything else on that at this stage? All right, we'll move forward with the public hearings that are posted for, can we move on those at this point? No, they're posted for 6:15. Okay, good. All right, we have, I'll turn it over to Mr. Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first matter that we have is for the Cape Point. Does somebody want to?
Point of
Come.
order, is that, there's supposed to be regional school agreement update, but that's
We
what
just
we-
did. Thank you.
So who's going to be representing the Cape Point? Come forward to the table, please.
Oh, sure.
Good evening. You gentlemen want to introduce yourselves, please?
Sure. My name is Attorney John Moradian, Democus Law Offices in Lynn, Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of S&H Hotel Yarmouth, LLC. With me is Nilesh Patel, one of the principals and the proposed manager of record.
Okay, before you go on, let me read the ad into the record, and then it's yours, okay? Town of Yarmouth Board of Selectmen Liquor and Entertainment Hearing. The Yarmouth Board of Selectmen, acting as the local licensing authority, has received an application for a new annual all-alcohol innkeeper license, including a pledge of license and inventory to the Cape Cod Cooperative Bank, weekday and Sunday entertainment and automatic amusement licenses from S&H Hotel Yarmouth, LLC, doing business as the Cape Point Nilesh Patel manager, 476 Route 28, West Yarmouth, Mass. The premise is a 116-unit year-round hotel, which includes a cafe, kitchen, bar, indoor and outdoor pools, seasonal cabana at the outdoor pool, meeting room, storage rooms, office, exercise facility, game room, parentheses, arcade, close parentheses, and laundry room. Occupancy. Hotel guest room occupancy is 470. Bar and restaurant is 40, and 4 conference rooms, which total 196, with 49 per room. Entertainment will include recorded music, amplification, movie screen, and a second-floor conference room and TVs. There will be 4 game machines in the arcade room. Hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019, at Town Hall, 1146 through 28 South Yarmouth. The Board of Selectmen meeting begins at 6 p.m. Written comments will be accepted until 4:30 p.m. Friday, April 19th, 2019, in the Selectmen's office at Town Hall. Verbal comments will be accepted at the hearing. Okay.
Okay. So we were actually here last year. S&H Hotel Yarmouth LLC purchased the hotel in the fall of 2017, and we applied for the license last winter, early spring of March 2018, which was approved by this board and the ABCC. However, due to the renovation delays, the hotel never opened for business, and per the ABCC in the town, we needed to apply again for the license as a new license slash late renewal. So that's why we're back here today. With me is Nilesh Patel. They are winding down the construction. They do anticipate to open early
On May 13th.
May 13th.
Okay.
So they are ready to move forward on operating the business.
Okay, anything else you'd like to say?
I have not
Okay,
really
good.
additional.
Anybody in the public like to be heard on this matter? Yes. Yeah, sure. Would you state your name, please?
Nick Brady, West Yarmouth. I live behind the hotel, behind the pool area is my backyard. Just curious about the entertainment, the live music, how late this is going to, play on, how loud it's going to be. Am I going to hear this from my backyard all night? Because when the last hotel was open, I was there that year, and the noise went on a little late. I got a young son, and I work every day, so
So you abut the property?
literally, like, if I'm on my roof, I can see the whole pool area and everything. It's
Okay.
10 feet from my back door, so.
Okay, so can you answer his question about the hours of that the music will be played by the pool area?
What's that? They really don't know the hours, but, I'm sure they'll be open to reasonable accommodations. Is the entertainment going to be outside or is it inside? Outside.
Well, let me ask the gentleman another question. Are you concerned just about that particular area? Is that where the noises come from in the past, the pool
Yeah,
area?
I'm sure if the sound's inside the hotel, I don't expect the decibel level to really reach my house because, I do construction too. I'm a contractor.
What
and
do
I
you
know.
feel is a reasonable hour?
I would not like to hear music loud at past 8 o'clock. I think that's very reasonable since that's the town noise ordinance in general. It's...
Well, the town noise ordinance, I believe, is 11.
Is it? Well,
But
11's pretty late for most people.
That doesn't mean it can't be limited. I'm just saying that.
Right. Well, if
I
it's
don't want you to
live
think
music, I wouldn't want to hear live music at 11 o'clock. That's a little outrageous, I would say.
Okay.
I would prefer like 8 o'clock for outside. They could do whatever they want inside the hotel. I could really care less. But if I'm going to hear, live amplified music, it's literally in my backyard. There's no buffer. There's just a white vinyl fence, which provides no sound deadening. So, I might as well be in the pool area listening to the music. So that's my big concern. My second concern is also because the pool area is there and customers, they're enjoying the time, drinking, whatever. Trash continues to end up in my yard. And, when the last hotel was open, every once in a while you get someone who's had a little too much and they throw their bottles or cans, whatever, over the fence. And like I said, I have a 4-year-old son. I don't want him touching, being near the alcoholic bottles or any other trash that people feel that they didn't need to make to the trash can. So that's another concern.
Do you have any others? Because I want to see what his response is to your concerns.
I guess my last concern is there's like a sizable amount of woods behind my house. It's also abuts a hotel. And up until recently, I could not see Route 28 at all. And since less than a year ago, they've cut a bunch of trees down. Now I can actually have a pretty clear view of Route 28, which I didn't have before. And I'm curious if they're going to either erect another fence barrier that prevents me even seeing, or they're going to plant more trees. But I feel like it's been loosened, and even in the snow, people for some reason have cut through the woods, jumped over my fence, and gone through the road in which it was pretty heavily, wooded, and I don't think people could traverse it easily, but now it seems to be, a lot easier to get through there, and people, for some reason, are using that as a cut through. I don't know why, but that's another kind of concern of mine. I don't know why. I don't really want to see the road. I'm pretty far back from 28 because the hotel's really long and has the pool area, so that's a good distance. I shouldn't really have a clear view of 28 and trucks and things like that.
Okay.
When I didn't before.
Let's take his concerns one by one.
Sure, so-
What do you feel is a reasonable time for an outside limit on entertainment in the pool area, given
Yes.
that you abut the residential
So definitely.
property?
So, we're not going to have a pool open in a May. We're going to probably open the pool in June until August or October. The other thing is that who sleeps on 8 o'clock on Friday and Saturday night, We're not going to have entertainment on Monday to Thursday or Monday to Thursday, but we're going to have something going on in the summertime on the outside pool Friday and Saturday. I cannot give you a promise that we'll be closed at 8 o'clock because, the business is busy on the summertime, not on the winter time. So we got to do whatever we can to make sure that we make money to survive in the winter time. The other thing I wanted to say that if you compare the previous hotel versus newer hotel, there is no comparison. I mean, we have done everything for the hotel to make sure that we can bring it back to code and up to the standards. And this is going to be a first boutique hotel in a United States of America. It's called Eden by Best Western. And we did not come in a West Yarmouth and spend all this money and brought the boutique hotel to run low-class hotel. This is going to be high-end boutique hotel. So our clientele is not going to be drinking and throwing the stuff around or throwing the stuff over the neighbor's home or anything. So that is not going to be a question. And Brian, who's our new GM at the hotel, and he's with me right now, and he assured to all our neighbors that, and he also gave the phone number to them that in the future, if you see any trash or any issue or if anything you need and he needs to contact Brian, he's most welcome to contact. So that's I wanted to make sure. The one more thing I wanted to add is that the cutting to trees. So, on that side, the one side that he's talking about, we had a lot of trees, and because having a lot of tree and having a rainy days or having a lot of snow in the winter time, those trees were, and that area was always wet, and because of the high branches, we got a lot of mold in the hotel on the first floor. So when we did the renovation, we went to each and every room and took the wall out and all that. There's a lot of extra expense. We took some trees down, but I don't know if he sees or not. We have planted the new trees already.
You have?
Yep.
What kind of trees?
What kind of trees we have?
There were pear, I don't have the list in front of me. I know some of them were pear, some of them were evergreen type trees.
So it's like some of them were pear or some of them were like evergreen type, but we have planted a new tree.
Okay. Are you going to have trash receptacles in the pool area?
Yeah, of course, definitely.
All right, now go to the board. Tracy, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that there's not some type of barrier between the hotel. If it's planted, maybe it's not mature growth enough yet, but I really would like to see you work with the neighbors to make sure that there's screening, enough adequate screening. Anytime you have residential and commercial abutting, it's difficult. I really am more curious, and I appreciate your comments.
Can I-
I'm going to get back to that
Okay, great.
in terms of what our board will have a discussion about.
I
what
wanted
we-
to add
what-
some too whenever I have a chance, but I'm not.
Hey, wait a minute,
Well,
don't
we-
interrupt her, okay?
What we feel is appropriate, we'll get back to that in terms of the time. I think, for outdoor, I think that there is a specific time that we'll probably be looking for. But I don't see anything in here at all about really a floor plan of your cabana, or I see the cabana, but I don't see the specifics. How is the alcohol outside going to be served? How is it going to be controlled? How are you going to make sure it doesn't get into a minor's hands?
So we're gonna have a tiki bar outside next to the pool, same place they used to be, and where we're gonna have a bartender who's going to make sure they check all each and everyone's IDs and not to serve any underage people.
And so will there be somebody other than a bartender in the area monitoring to be sure that even though the person's being served, it's not being transferred to somebody else? Are there going to be people out there watching?
Additional wait staff and.
Yeah, so we always have a Brian who's our GM. He's going to be walking around, making sure everything's okay. We're going to have a bartender as well as we're going to serve some food. So we can have extra staff to make sure that we don't serve underage. Yeah, for sure.
What about access to this area? Could you describe to me how
So
you're gonna make
the
sure it's contained in a particular area and not just taken out into a car or?
right. So we have you can go to the pool from the last building through the door. Also, we have a fence which is locked, so nobody can go in and out. If you are not staying at the hotel, you cannot go to Cabana or the pool area. You need a access card in order to scan in order to go to the pool.
Okay, and are your employees tip certified?
Yes.
All of them?
Yep.
Okay. And as far as the entertainment, I see on here you have 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. That is not something I would ever support especially for outside. But I'm curious, do you plan on doing entertainment inside the hotel as well as outside?
Not so. We have we have a big ballroom upstairs, which we can do a lot of different conferences and all that. But entertainment, we can do either in and out. But in the summertime, people like to hang out at the outdoor pool than indoor pool. So definitely, we planning to do some activities in the summer house outdoor pool.
So it's basically, I guess I'm just confused. It's just recorded music. You're not going to have
Right, I think when they
bands.
see 7 to 2, I think that means, can you hear me in the?
Okay.
7 to 2, I don't think it means the live music that time. I think it might be referred to the TVs.
Well, I
and
don't
the
see any live
recorded
music here.
Yeah.
I see that you've requested recorded music, so that's why I'm just trying to clarify. Are you looking to do something different inside than you are outside? What is exactly your plan?
So, like I said, we're going to have some music, but I'm not sure because, I have not even focused on outside pool and around that area. Our focus 100% right now to finish the renovation and open before Memorial Day weekend.
Okay, so we're just talking about recorded music at this time.
Is that a modification of the application then? Because the application says recorded music, amplification, moving picture shows, and other. No, TV. And it says 7 a.m. in the morning.
Yep.
2
2
to 2 a.m. the next morning. So it's a period of.
That's his request, but that's.
And I think licenses expire at 1 a.m. I think that's the outside.
Absolutely, yes, except New Year's Eve.
So I don't know why you'd want to have music until 2 if alcohol service has to stop by 1. But I agree with Tracy. I think there's got to, especially with that pool area, there's got to be some specific limitation in terms of the time and the type of entertainment that's allowed in that area.
I
I
guess the
think that don't worry about it, we'll be fine.
Well, and I think
It's
we
too
can,
indefinite for me, but.
we can craft something that we're comfortable with, and if something changes, perhaps you can come back, but it can't just be, whatever happens, happens. We can't do that. I'm curious about the fire department's comments. The fire department's comments refers to a nightclub use. So is there a dance floor on the inside of the hotel?
I think that, I didn't bring that copy with me, but I think that refers to was any capacity over a certain
If it's
number.
over 100, yeah.
100.
I don't think it just refers to nightclubs. So yeah, they will be required to have a
Crowd control?
crowd I think it's crowd safe or crowd control.
Crowd control manager.
So
If you
there
have
is,
100 or more people, and it seems like you probably will.
so there is an area where, and it's been structurally deemed for a dance floor. I know that that's been one of our things architecturally before that we've seen where somebody comes in with a dance area that really wasn't structurally made for that type of weight. So where is the dance floor, and is it made for that?
There is no dance floor, ma'am.
There's no dance
I
floor,
think it might be referred to, though, just in terms of the bar
Nightclub.
capacity could be enough
just because it's over 100.
over 100
But you don't plan on having,
dance floor, no.
oh,
Yeah.
So, but the 100 number count.
well, the
would
100
require-
number still counts if you have capacity over 100 people. Where there's alcohol, I believe you need a crowd control
Right,
person.
that's the triggering, that's why I was,
Well, I just saw the
Yeah.
word nightclub, so I just wanted to make sure.
No, there is no night.
Okay, that's it for now.
Norm, do you have any questions or comments?
I guess, so we don't have a certificate of occupancy at this point?
Not yet.
Is it premature to have this hearing? If we didn't have a building that has not been certified for occupancy? I guess I'm looking for, typically when we have a building department inspection, we have a list of points to be covered.
It's true.
And, we had some lengthy discussions, repetitive discussions with some other properties that had issues around building department inspections. And I'm very uncomfortable issuing anything having to do with this until we have a sign-off by building and health and all the other departments.
so usually how this works is the board will grant initially the hearing approval of the license, but the license won't actually issue, you won't actually issue the stamped license until they get building, health, fire, all the CO sign-offs. So that's your protection, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because this still has to go to the ABCC, which takes a 4 to 6 week
I see.
approval
Okay.
process.
All right. Well, I'm not sure that makes me any more comfortable at this stage, given the fact that there was a deferral already by the ABCC, I believe. You said that,
No, the ABCC approved this last year, as did the board. The only reason it didn't issue from your board is because the construction, the renovations weren't completed.
okay.
We didn't act on the entertainment part of it, though.
I believe that not
It was just
just
the
the liquor
liquor
license
part.
last year.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess, I'm looking at the layout, and is Route 28 near the indoor pool?
Yes, that's true, sir.
So the pool faces Route
28.
28, and then it's kind of a long hotel from there, and your restaurant is near the indoor pool, so it's up near Route 28, but the outdoor pool is all the way at the other end of the establishment. So I'm just trying to envision the supervision of the outdoor pool, and in view of some of the concerns expressed by a neighbor with regard to what goes on in that area and the fact that it abuts his property and so forth. I'm very concerned about that, and I'm concerned about the fact that the hours specified are very lengthy. And I think we should have these issues that have been brought up with regard to sound and visibility, what's been done to other properties and the impact on other properties. I think those issues need to be addressed before we, in my view, at least, move forward with approval. I think there needs to be clarity of days of entertainment, and you're asking for Monday through Sunday. As far as I'm concerned, at this stage, given the layout of the property and the concerns expressed, I'm not inclined, and I'm one vote on the board, not inclined to approve this as it stands.
The liquor part or the entertainment part, or both?
Both. I'm very concerned about the supervision aspect with regard to the outdoor pool, which is a long way from the main restaurant and the indoor pool. Total opposite ends of the property and abutting this gentleman's property.
I'm just trying to understand, when you said you didn't approve, I'm just trying to clarify whether it was one aspect or both. The other thing, along Norm's point with the entertainment license, I thought you just said, Mr. Patel, that you weren't going to have entertainment Monday through Thursday, but your application says Monday through Sunday, so which is it?
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that the entertainment license, I'm not inclining to have Monday to Thursday because, Monday to Thursday is more corporate and we are not that busy as of Friday and Saturday over the weekend. So there is no point of having something going on Monday to Thursday, So we don't do anything much on Monday to Thursday for those kind of stuff.
Is there discrepancy between entertainment licenses for TVs in the restaurant?
So I was just gonna say, we have to be
Restaurant
careful
versus
because-
the live music outside on the cabana.
Right, I
And
think we
as
should
to
take them separately.
Chairman Holcomb's concerns about the distance between the bar up front of the property and then to the rear, it's going to be a fully staffed hotel. Mr. Patel did just say that there will be a tiki bar in the pool area, but that will be staffed by a bartender and wait staff, as will the front area of the cafe bar area.
I kind of lost your first point about TVs.
Oh, so
Can you
entertainment-
tell me?
It all falls under the same
So
entertainment.
entertainment license encompasses, a TV on for a background in the bar up in the corner watching the Red Sox game, as
I
does,
didn't think TVs fell within the
It's right
entertainment.
on here, it's checked, jukebox, TVs.
I know he's asking for that, but I don't think you have to have an entertainment license to have a TV.
He wouldn't even be able to play recorded music inside,
That's different.
but it's all part of it. That's why I think we should take it separate about what's allowed inside the structure and what's allowed outside.
That's fine, we can do that. Sure. Okay, Mark, let me go to you. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't have any more questions, no.
I think we should,
I think the gentleman would like to say something.
I am gonna go to him. I was just gonna say, I think we should hear from him and see if he has any concluding remarks.
Yeah, so about the pool area too, just curious, is there going to be like a lifeguard? How late is actual people swimming going to be open till? Because there's a water park right next door and they close water operations at 6 p.m. I know that's a little early, but I'm just curious, are people swimming all night? Is anyone watching them? And another suggestion I might add is the fence being only 6 feet tall. I mean, I'm almost 6 feet tall. I think that, an 8-foot fence would be a lot better buffer then I won't have to see anything, and people can't easily reach their arm and drops things over the fence. That would make me a lot happier personally if it was an 8-foot fence instead of a 6-foot fence. That would be a much better barrier, and yeah, that's my other addition.
Was this a by right? Was this by Board of Appeals or your remodel? Did you have to go to the Board of Appeals?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the fencing and that kind of thing is
Board
not
of
really
Appeals
within our
issue.
purview tonight. I mean, that's why I started my comments by saying it'd be really nice if he worked with the neighbors, but unfortunately, there was a time for that, in terms of the shrubbery. I mean, we can deal with the entertainment and the alcohol,
The
but
alcohol, those are
as far
the
as
two.
the fencing
You
and,
guys always have a meeting because they said they temporarily approved this liquor. I mean, I never got a notice last year. Does it only get one this year because it's entertainment with the liquor thing? That's the only reason?
No, you should have gotten one.
I never was
But
notified
wasn't it a
last year of
transfer?
this.
Didn't you originally?
There was a
did you
transfer, ma'am.
no, last year was a new license application, and we did send, so last year's application did not include entertainment.
Right.
So this year, there were
No, but he should have gotten one on the alcohol. If it was a new license application, he should have been
Well,
notified.
it depends where if he's a direct abutter, then
He
he's
said he is.
I'm a direct abutter. Could walk into the pool area if the fence wasn't in the way.
So I have the list of abutters that were given to us this year,
Yeah.
which included,
Well, it's by the board because they're here and new, so there's no prejudice to you for not having been notified because that license is not before.
Yeah, I was
us.
just
It's a new
curious if
application.
I didn't get notified because it didn't involve entertainment.
I
or not.
understand. No, the answer to your question is no. You should have been notified either way. If you were a direct abutter at the time of that application. But again, I'm not going to obsess on that because that's really,
it's moot. at this point.
you're
It
not
was just a
you're not
curious
prejudiced
question.
by
I wasn't
that.
really
This is a
trying to
brand
get
new
anything out of it.
application. You've been notified, you're here, so.
Yeah, I was just curious. That's why I didn't know if I was supposed to get notified last year.
Okay, so I think what we should probably do, and I'm flexible on this, I'll go whichever way the board wants. I think we should address the entertainment license first. I mean, typically we deal with the alcohol, but this seems to be very open-ended, this entertainment license, and it can't be. It's got to be nailed down in view of the concerns that he's raised, and also, the respect for the neighboring properties in general. A pool, outdoor entertainment, what's a reasonable hour? Certainly not 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or even 11 o'clock, because you got a local bylaw that applies, kicks in at 11 o'clock. So the
What time
question.
what time will your outdoor pool close?
9 PM.
Yeah, in my view, I think that's the latest I would agree to, would be 9 o'clock. How do you feel about that?
That's, somewhat reasonable. Like I said, the water park, I think, closes a little early.
You'd
'cause
prefer 8. Could you live with 9?
Yeah, I
guess
could
is-
live with 9, but I mean, most hotels' indoor pools close not much later than that, and they have lighting and all that. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna have lighting, but it's
You
a
could still
safety
have
concern
indoor
too, late at
entertainment.
night.
It's different.
After that.
Yeah, 9's
We're
reasonable.
just talking about the pool area right now.
Right, and if there's, one of the things I think that is important, it was, we do try to hear the neighbors and take their concerns very seriously, but also if there's a violation of their license at all, they'll be back here. So then, you have another opportunity. So they have to be very strict to that, and, hopefully if there's complaints, do you have this gentleman's number?
I do now, yes.
All right, good.
So does 9 o'clock so will people still be in the pool area listening to live music, drinking past 9, or that means that whole area will be shut down?
If we put a restriction of 9 PM, that would be it, 9 PM.
Okay.
If they're going to be closing at 9 PM anyway, I don't see any reason why you would need alcohol or music out there after that, after it's closed, so.
Mr. Patel, you have anything
And
to say
then
about
I
that?
just wanted to add one thing, so when the license is restricted or we have hours on a liquor license, there's 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock we stop serving the liquor. But if somebody's sitting there and drinking beer for 9:15 or 9:20, then I cannot control that. But we stop serving the alcohol at 9 o'clock.
And the music has to be off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Inside would be a different story for me, but I think, and we may even want to, I know Sundays, but I'd even be more inclined to do a earlier hour on Sunday, but Friday and Saturday night, I'm comfortable with 9. Not to make the license too difficult, but I think just starting out, if we go for a little bit of time and we don't have any problem, we could always revisit it, but I'd be more comfortable with an earlier hour on Sunday.
What would you be thinking, Tracy, on Sunday?
I think 8 at the latest, 7 or 8. I'm not sure on Sunday. I'm not sure how busy you are on Sundays, but I think Sundays kind of should be
8 is
somewhat of a
fine.
quiet day
8 on Sunday.
Sunday on 8 is fine.
person, but I'm just telling you how my feeling is, if I would be happier as a neighbor.
Okay. Anybody else?
And in terms of the liquor license, I know Norm's not comfortable, but with the lead time with the ABCC and the money that these folks have invested in our town, I think that, I'd be more as long as it's contingent on all the COCs and the approvals, I'd support it, because I think if they had to come back after the fact, that would really put
Yeah.
a damper on their season.
There's a big time factor here in terms of going through the review process. And despite what we do, I can tell you Linda's not going to issue any licenses without all the sign-offs. She won't. She'll hold them up until she gets all the sign-offs. But I think to put that in the motion would probably be a good idea, Tracy, for peace of mind.
As far as anything other than TVs, recorded amplified music at this time, I think that we should restrict it to that, and then at some time in the future, if you want to have different plans, then you'd have to come back and explain how that would play out to us. And
What about inside in the indoor bar area for?
We're going to get to that in a minute. I see Phil Magnuson there waiting. I want to hear what Officer Magnuson has to say.
Thank you. I have a couple of things. Retired Officer Magnuson. Still police department
Well,
employee, but retired.
it's like a judge. You know, you always call him judge.
Oh, boy, thank you.
It's a
I'll
title
go
of
with that.
honor that stays with you.
A couple of observations. You focused on a lot of really important things. The outdoor alcohol service. That's something that's covered both by ABCC guidelines and by our regulations. Supervision is required. They have to have an employee there while they're serving alcohol. It's got to be secured from access by the outside, and that includes after they stop serving, as long as the alcohol is present. And you also need to know, because it's licensed premises, no one else can bring outside alcohol into that pool. So you're going to have to control it like a licensed premises. As far as the entertainment license goes, the entertainment license needs to be specific. It only covers what is on the license. So to say recorded music and other doesn't cover you if you want to have live entertainment. So you need to come in and amend that. If you want to have a two-piece band or a guitar player out back at the pool, you need to come in and amend that. As far as the physical layout, I haven't been down to the new construction, but the way the old motel was laid out, it is very tight to the houses out back. I think it's Coachman Lane. It's very tight. We had noise complaints about the buses running out there. So I think a reasonable limitation on the entertainment and the use of the pool would be a good thing. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to invite the manager and anybody else he wants to bring to come to our compliance seminar. We have one on Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning at the police station. We have another one on May 20th at the police station. You're required to go to at least one every other year, so this would be a good opportunity to be familiarized with some of our local requirements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. One question, Phil. You don't need an entertainment license for TVs, right? You can have those as a
I'm
matter
scratching
of
my
right.
head. I believe you are correct. My memory is, I believe that is correct.
Yeah.
If I had the ability, I'd look at it to be sure, but I believe that's correct.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to make a couple of comments if I could. My name's Russell Randolph, and I live at 10 Rig Lane, and the property actually belongs to my girlfriend, Linda Patterson, and she was feeling bad tonight, so I'm here mainly on her behalf, but on mine too, because I've lived there with her the last 7 years. And she's done battle with Cape Point since maybe 2000 when her mother died and she inherited the house. Her major complaints, I'd say her biggest one right now is the what Nick was talking about mostly, the pool. The only person closer to Cape Point pool and where the tiki bar will be is our property. I mean, we're in spitting distance of it. I mean, the white fence is right in our back. It's between our backyard and the end of their parking lot. And there were also some evergreen trees that were planted there by the previous owner. That was part of the deal. There had to be a buffer zone there. So when the new construction was going on this past year, and they had bobcats in the back clearing asphalt, doing various things, for no apparent reason that I could figure, they chopped the lower hanging branches down. Just they left the top. But what that did was give us an unobstructed view of 28, which we weren't really looking for.
Right.
But my biggest issue.
But as Selectman Post pointed out, our jurisdiction here in this hearing is over the entertainment and the license,
Yeah.
the buffers and things like that would have been proper subject for the Board of Appeals. We can't help you on that.
You can't help on any landscaping or anything like that.
Well, you can check to make sure they're in compliance
Buses were the other
with the
issue.
permit.
She would call the office, especially in the fall when the buses were coming, she would call the office, and they knew her voice. They didn't go by the, I think it's 5 minutes you can warm up, maybe it's 10, but they turned them on and left them running for 20, 30 minutes sometimes. And not only did we hear them running, but we caught all the fumes. That's how close we are. We're just a few. But as far as the noise, I don't see how a sophisticated crowd who spends more for their hotel room is going to be any less quiet once they get a few beers in them. You get around a tiki bar and a few beers, I don't care if they're paying $300 for a room. We're still going to hear every bit of it. And the last thing I want to say is that my girlfriend, Linda Patterson, is 71, and she's had a bad heart for most of her life. But I think if the noise level is anything like it's been in the past, I think it will literally kill her. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. She gets so stressed over certain things, but I think these are big things for her. And I'd just like to see if they're going to stop serving alcohol at a certain time and stop the music, I'd like to know whether the people are still going to be out there talking, which they have been in the past. I know that's the new owner now. They're going to have the alcohol in them. They're not going to be buying anymore. But you get a grill going and you get a few beers in you, they're going to be as loud as they want to be, unless they have to disperse. You know, I'd like to see them have to leave. You know, if it stops at 8, I'd like to see the people leave at 8, not just hang out. Because luckily I work at night, but she doesn't. She's retired, so she catches the brunt of it. And I come home and I hear how bad it was from her. And sometimes even when I get home, 11 o'clock or what, I work in a restaurant, so I can still hear a little bit of it. But she said it was really bad at 8 o'clock. So that's my concern, and it's mostly on her behalf. But I've been there a lot longer than Nick has. I've been there for 7 years with her. So that's all I wanted to say.
All right, thank you, sir. I think as Officer Magnuson pointed out, you had mentioned earlier that you'd stop service in the pool area, but if that's a licensed area, then nobody's going to be able to bring alcohol in there after it's closed. So if you permit people to drink there after hours, and this goes partly to his concern, that'd be a violation of your license. Do you understand that?
Yeah. So if I may say something. So if we get permission or to keep the outdoor pool open until 9 o'clock, then we will make sure they will close the pool, and the people who are hanging out, they need to go back into a room, or they need to go in indoor pool inside, not hanging out outside.
Okay.
And one thing I wanted to say, you cannot compare what was the previous hotel versus what is the new hotel. There is no comparison. What we have done and what we're gonna do. So if I understand the neighbor has a concern about the previous owner versus new owner, it's a big difference.
You can't be held responsible for a previous owner.
That's right.
We all agree on that.
The layout's the same, though.
Sure.
I know, but you gotta understand the previous owner left it, and when we bought it and how much we spent it and what we have done. We are not there to make $40 per room night every night. We are there to, like you said, I wish I make $300 per room night every night.
We don't really want to get into a discussion about the previous owner because that's irrelevant to this proceeding. You come here as the new owner, and that's all we're dealing with.
And we wanted to work with everyone,
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Is anyone prepared to make a motion?
Well, if we're done, we can close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, do you have a motion, Tracy?
I'll make a motion, and I think, regardless of how much you're charging a night, the noise travels the same. So I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, we take the licenses very, very serious. We want you to be successful, but we also want our neighbors to be able to live in peace. So to the extent that you can work with them and respond to their concerns without having to get the town involved, the better off everybody will be, because if we have to be back here, then it's not going to be good. So, if you could put more shrubs in and make the fence higher, that would be great, but you have to do that on your own, because that's not up to us tonight, unfortunately. But I would make a motion, we'll talk about entertainment specifically, or do you want
Whichever way you want to do it. You can start with that if you'd like.
that we approve the entertainment license contingent on all occupancy permits and departments signing off on the structure, the building, the operation. The outdoor entertainment to be limited to what's been requested, recorded amplified music, TV, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 9
Excuse me,
p.m.
point of order, this is a weekday
Yeah.
application?
There's more than one in here. There's a Sunday entertainment license additional. So I would say from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Saturday, and Sunday from 12 to 8 p.m. for outdoors specifically.
Sunday, 12 noon to 8 p.m.
Correct. And as far as the indoor, the same, except the hours can be from, I would say, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., as long as it's contained within the building.
Indoor, 7 a.m. to 1
License ends at 1 a.m., right?
liquor, yeah. A.m. All noise to be contained within the building.
So what were the hours?
Monday through Saturday from 10 to 9 p.m., 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. outside. Noon to 8 p.m. on Sunday, outside. Indoors, 7 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Okay. And that excludes any live entertainment, right?
Excludes any live entertainment,
Okay.
any one-piece band, anything like that, unless they want to come back
All right,
with a plan additionally after the fact.
okay. And what about Tracy,
And they'll have to adhere to all state regulations in terms of entertainment with, occupants that exceed over 100, making sure that they follow the codes related to
I think that's
crowd
really
management.
more properly part of the liquor part of it. Why don't you hold off on that until we do the liquor? I think it's a great point, but I think it
not-
should attach to the liquor license. Okay. Do we have a second?
I just want to make sure the applicant's okay with that motion.
Are you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, he seemed to be in general agreement with the limitations on the pool area. and
I'll
the
second that
Sunday
motion.
hours. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Yes.
All right, so that passes 3 in favor, 1 against. Now let's proceed to the liquor license. Tracy, do you have a motion on that? Since you did
well,
such a good
it's-
job on the first one.
Well, it's an all alcohol in holders license, which
Right.
has its own criteria in terms of the area. I think
I think your motion perhaps should be phrased in terms of approving the application with whatever restrictions you want to put on with the outdoor pool area.
Make a motion, we approve the all alcohol in holders license with the hours. I don't see where the hours are requested in here for that particular thing, but that obviously indoors is limited to 1 a.m. And the outdoor alcohol service would be limited to the same hours as the entertainment license.
Okay, so outdoors is going to be limited to 10 o'clock a.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 12 noon to 8 p.m. on Sundays. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Yes?
Can I request Sunday alcohol sales at 10 a.m. per what's allowed by Mass law for, someone has brunch in the indoor?
Inside is a different story. Inside
I thought he
will
was
be-
limiting the whole.
No, he was saying those were
just
the
outdoor.
outdoor
Those were
hours.
outdoor limitations.
Okay.
You can serve, in my opinion, my motion would be indoors as requested, as the permit allows.
Right, I think the only restriction that she was making, just so we're on the same page, was to the outdoor liquor. And she wanted to link that to the same hours as the outdoor entertainment. Is that right, Tracy?
Correct.
Okay. And I just repeated those hours for
And
purposes of
additionally,
the motion.
the motion would be that as long as they're in compliance with all the state and federal regulations and the town departments sign off on their occupancy.
All right.
We'd
All
hold that
required town sign-offs, we all agree that's
until
a
such time.
condition of having the physical possession of the license.
And the pledge of the license to Cape Cod.
Yeah, we'll allow that.
Yep.
For the kind of money that they're loaning, I think they're entitled to a pledge of the license to the Cape Cod Cooperative Bank. Doing business as the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod. So that pledge is allowed as part of the motion if it's acted upon favorably. All right, any further discussion on that? Do we have a second, by the way? You have a second on that,
I'll
Mark?
second that.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? You abstaining on this one, Norm, or are you opposing? Okay, so 3 in favor, 1 abstention on the liquor license. And do you have the green cards, too?
Yes, I do.
So you're all set unless you have anything else?
Try to give this to-
There's a
What's that, Norm?
amusement license? Is
For
that,
for
that's
the-
separate?
For the 4 units,
Which one's that?
for the game room.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry.
Make a motion to approve the, what do we call that?
Where is that located?
The automatic amusement license as requested.
Okay, to move this, I'll second it.
You mean, where is it on the floor plan?
Second.
Where is it on the-
It's on the second floor. Each one a second floor.
Towards the front.
Closer to Route 28.
That's the game room, arcade.
That says lower level, I'm not sure. So there's 3 levels?
2 levels of
The
basement.
lower level is first floor and a second floor?
Yep.
Okay.
I can't even read that. I could when I started here.
Although, I got another piece of paper that says the game room's on the second floor. Which is it?
Second floor near the fitness center, sir.
You're gonna have the arcade there, right?
Yes, sir, 4 machines.
4, okay. And then you have a request also for, I think it's movies on the second floor. Didn't I see something about that?
That would be if we had any conference space.
Right.
For instance, CBS wanted to come down and hold a meeting there, TV on the wall.
Okay, that's all that is, right? So it's basically the arcades that you're looking for the other license for?
Yes, sir.
Right, okay, we have a motion to, did you make a motion on that, Tracy?
I did.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, so that's
The only other thing I'd
4
ask
to 0 on that.
is that you get us a certificate of insurance with us listed as, the town of Yarmouth listed as additionally
So
insured,
insured,
please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, if you give us the green cards, you're all set.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please reach out to the passenger. All right? Thank you very much. Very nice of you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
All right. The next matter is the Grand Cafe. Is anybody here on that?
I don't see Mr. Kanshi or Mr. Hardaway.
Was there adequate notification? I saw that there was something in here.
Yeah, in fact, Mr. Pagway signed for it. I can't believe this. He's not here. Why don't you come forward, Phil? Let's have a little talk about this one. You haven't heard anything from these people, have you?
No, I have not.
This is a first. I haven't never seen this before, where somebody that's, well, one thing they're trying to do is transfer the license to the corporation, which Linda's been trying to get them to do for about a year.
And was that paperwork ever completed?
Yeah, it was. It was. And so she was very happy to put it on for tonight, figuring that it would be an end to that. So I guess I'd like to know your thoughts on how we should proceed, whether we should proceed in their absence, which we could do, they've been notified, or whether we should continue it and give an opportunity to get here.
Well, we have 2 police officers here to testify,
Okay.
but I guess I would defer to counsel on the best way to...
All right, and he's here.
What was it that he signed for specifically? The letter from you?
He signed for the notice
Which notice?
of the hearing.
I'm just curious.
It's in the packet.
I just want
On the disciplinary part, there's 2 hearings, actually. The first hearing was for them to transfer the license to the corporation. They were also looking for an extension of their hours on that. That was the first matter. And the second matter was a disciplinary hearing for alleged violation of state and local laws with respect to the operation of their business. I should say the entertainment and liquor aspects of the operation of their business. So, Town Council, can you come forth for a minute? What do you think? You ever have a liquor hearing where the...
Disciplinary hearing where someone didn't
What's
show
it?
up?
Yeah. No, it's not a wise practice, for
I mean,
sure,
unless
but-
someone is out of business by the time it rolls around.
Yeah.
That does not appear to be the case here.
Do you think we should proceed in their absence, or do you think we should continue the matter?
I think I
Give them
would probably defer to the police department and see if this is an ongoing enterprise in any way, and the discipline serves an important role in getting them either back on track or properly disciplined. I don't like to continue these things are very serious. The disciplinary proceeding, the extension and the transfer, I suppose that could wait till the next time, although I'm surprised they're not pursuing their own application. But if there's an ongoing concern of the police department on compliance, given the potential ramifications of liquor violations, I think it'd be justified in going forward. If it's a matter of ministerial or minor importance on a violation, then I would want to hear that from the police department.
I could address that. From last February and last April, when I first met with Mr. Paraguay and Mr. Carci, it was apparent that there was a profound language barrier, particularly with Mr. Paraguay. The board granted them the license. I had met with them several times, particularly with Mr. Paraguay. It was clear that he wasn't getting 90% of what I was telling him. He had a violation with the ABCC in June for serving a minor, and they issued a decision finding him responsible and giving him a suspended closing order in August. In
2 days.
2 days, yeah.
And they suspended that for 2 years.
Right. So that was after being open for 3 or 4 months.
Right.
On the 2nd of February, Officer Marina went by and found that they had a party going, serving alcohol with a DJ at 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
The establishment has an 11 o'clock license. When Officer Wenberg went back to follow up on March the 1st, she found a case, one or more cases of beer behind the bar, which had been purchased from Becker's Package Store, rather than from a retailer, from a distributor. The concern is their overall competence to operate the establishment and comply with basic rules. Neither one of these two violations is an immediate risk to public safety, but the overall concern is, as it was last year, whether they're able to comply with the rules to operate a liquor establishment.
I remember that. I
Would
remember
you,
'cause it was right after we had
Yeah,
the other one.
in fact, we wrote
Said something to him about his
we had a
language.
communication with the ABCC, who reviewed the application, expressing our concern about the language issue. We let them know during the pendency of review that we had this concern. I think part of their problems are very much related to a language barrier.
I wonder if that's why they're not here today. Maybe they understand the noticing. Yeah.
But, you know, they can't hide behind that. I mean, if you got a public safety issue that militates against the language issue, and if they have problems understanding English, they're going to have to hire somebody that does, in terms of the day-to-day operations of the business. But I guess, I know you have 2 officers here, and if you want to go forward in their absence, I'll do that, if you want to do that. Or I do have some familiarity. We had a meeting in February with these people, myself and Linda and Phil, to try to streamline some of the issues that are before you tonight.
When will they be coming back for a liquor license?
Well, their license is probably November. The renewal applications will be due in November. But if there's a violation of the ABCC regulations and/or the Mass General laws, which could result from what's pending before you tonight, the ABCC is likely to suspend the license for 2 days because of the violation for serving alcohol
The
to minors.
ABCC asked, I spoke to one of the investigators, and he asked me to send them the reports on these 2 violations. I have done that. I haven't heard back from him on what, if any, action has been taken.
Can I just ask a procedural
Sure.
question? Do we need to open a hearing before we have a discussion? Is there something that needs to be?
No, I don't really think we're going to open the hearing yet. We're just deciding whether we're going to conduct a hearing, I guess,
I
at
guess
this point.
if we don't,
We'll open it if we continue it, or if we hear it.
If we're going to continue it, then it's, well, the notice is out, we just need to get them here, I guess, for the next.
Right.
Rather than me notice it.
Right, you would open and continue. That would
Right,
require a
yes.
notice.
Well, I'm not
I'm
sure-
very
I've never
surprised they're not
continued-
here. I've never dealt with this before. That's why I asked you to come up, Jay. I don't mean to put you on overtime, but it's, I mean, with the interest that they have at stake not to be here, it's kind of more than a little surprising that they're not here. So I'm wondering, like you are, if it indeed is attributable to their language issues.
Mr. Chairman, I think that if we have properly noticed and followed the law in terms of their notification, I think we should move forward with the hearing. I don't know if prolonging this is going to result in a different answer.
Anyone else? Norm, you got any opinions on this in terms of whether we should proceed or
Can I
not?
just pose a hypothetical question? If we go ahead and take the two officers' testimony,
could
and
still
then they
continue
come
it.
in and they want an opportunity to be heard, are we in a position of doing it over again?
If we
Or do you think
continued
whatever
it.
we do tonight would be final?
We could open it, listen to the testimony, and continue it.
I'm looking at Jay
So-
at this point. What do you think?
My guess is that these facts are going to be largely incontrovertible.
I would think so, yes.
I'm not sure of the purpose. Obviously, the due process is served by the statutory notice.
All right.
The language barrier, while unfortunate, I mean, since I've been hearing about it, since I became town council, there's been a language barrier issue whenever this comes up. There's been certainly an admonition that something has to be done so that they understand these things. So I don't know what they understand or don't understand, but legal notice is legal notice. And given, if the facts, as summarized a few minutes ago, are what they are, I'm not sure from a fact-finding perspective what you gain from a continuance. Normally these, as you know, these things usually amount to what is essentially almost a stipulated set of facts.
Especially at the ABCC level.
Right, and when I conduct these, and I think I've done that once here too, I'll generally present even stipulated facts and say, why don't we just agree to the facts and we can talk about how we move forward, and generally that's pretty accepted in like a sting situation or something like that. I don't think the facts are going to change at all. I'm not trying to rush the board through this by any
Could always
means.
appeal our
The
decision.
board
Yeah.
can do that. But due process is served by opening, getting the few facts in, closing, being done. It doesn't even take much in the way of kind of questioning per se. A simple summary by the officers who witnessed it should be sufficient to form a factual basis enough to do what I think is going to be considered a second offense, or
Second and third.
second and third offense.
Potentially.
Potentially. And then, you have a whole slate. Nothing's written in stone. There's a guideline, and of course, on penalties. But
I guess I'm concerned about setting precedent as well. I mean, what happens if we have somebody else that has 2 or 3 and they don't show up?
Yeah, I'm
I just get nervous that if something happens in the interim and we're,
I didn't expect this. Okay. We'll proceed. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I don't know why we would have a whole hearing without them or a representative for them hearing what was going on. I just understand you're notified of the hearing, but it's, I mean, a hearing when you're not here.
yeah, seems like,
Well, I mean,
same time they had the opportunity to be here.
it's done all the time in court proceedings. There's defaults and there's assessment of damages when people don't show. The notice I have in my file indicates that Louis, how do you pronounce his last name, Pagway? Signed for this certified letter. I don't see the delivery date on it, but he did sign for it. Well, let's I suppose we should do the disciplinary matter and just hold on the transfer part of it for now. That's what I'm going to do. Let me find the legal notice on the second hearing. See if I can find that one.
You want the notice, Mike?
The second one, yeah, the disciplinary one. Thank you. Okay, let's see. All right, the legal notice is Town of Yarmouth Board of Selectmen alcohol license show cause hearing. The Yarmouth Board of Selectmen, acting as the local licensing authority, has scheduled a show cause hearing to determine if the annual wine and malt common victular license held by Louis Pagway, doing business as Grand Cafe, 80 Route 28, West Yarmouth, Louis Pagway, manager, should be modified, suspended, or revoked under Chapter 138, Sections 12 and 23, Chapter 140, Section 183A of the Massachusetts General Laws, and Sections 1.04, Sections A, C, D, and E, and Section 2A of the Yarmouth Code Rules and Regulations of the Yarmouth Licensing Authority. The hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019, in the hearing room at Town Hall, 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth. The Board of Selectmen meeting begins at 6 p.m. Okay, so I have a copy of the notice and the certified letter that went out to Mr. Pagway on March 14th. And he apparently signed for it, advising him of these alleged violations, the appropriate sections of the general laws and the Yarmouth Code Rules and Regulations, specifically noticing a violation of Chapter 138, Section 12, service of alcoholic beverages beyond the hours fixed by the local licensing authority for the license, which is also an alleged violation of the Yarmouth Rules and Regulations, Section 1.04, A, C, D, and E. Was further notified of permitting an illegality on the licensed premises, to wit, DJ entertainment and amplified music without an entertainment license under General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 183A. And that was also an alleged violation of the Yarmouth Rules and Regulations, Section 2A. There was also notice of a further violation of permitting an illegality on the premises, to wit, violation of Chapter 138, Section 23, sale of alcoholic beverages purchased from a package store. And it says that the Yarmouth Board requires the manager of record on the license to be in attendance at the hearing, which will be held on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019, in the hearing room at Town Hall, 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth, Mass. The board meeting begins at 6 p.m. And that letter was CC'd to myself as licensing chairman, and to Phil Magnuson, the licensing liaison for the Yarmouth Police Department. Do you want to examine the officers, or do you want to just...
Town council suggested that because there's nobody here to examine, to cross-examine the officers, we could just read the reports into the record.
Why don't you do that then?
Nonetheless, I would suggest we might want to swear them in case the board has questions of them.
Okay. I'm going to bring the officers forward. Good evening. You raise your right hands, please. Do you swear that the testimony you're giving this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Let the record reflect that the two officers have been sworn.
To begin with, I just offer for the record a copy of their liquor license, which shows the closing hour to be 11 o'clock.
All right, we'll take that as an exhibit number 1.
Officer Marino's report indicates that on the 2nd of February at 1:43 in the morning, he was driving down Route 28 by the Grand Cafe and saw that the parking lot was full of cars, the interior of the building was fully lit, and loud music could be heard from Route 28. He signed off with other police officers, entered one of the main doors, and observed open alcohol containers on the counter. Some were full and some were empty, approximately 30 to 40 people inside, and what appeared to be a DJ playing music. Within a minute or two, he was approached by 2 males and asked them to locate the owner. He then spoke to Luis Paguay, who identified himself as the owner, who told Officer Marino that it was a quinceanera family party. Officer Marino told Paguay of the bylaw, music violation, and liquor violations, and asked everyone to leave. After about 10 to 15 minutes, the restaurant did clear out. And then on March the 1st, Officer Wenberg conducted a follow-up visit to the premises. Guess I'm on the wrong report now. With Officer Marino, they went to the Grand Cafe on the 1st of March. They spoke with Luis Paguay. They informed him the reason of the visit. He was cooperative. As they were conducting their check, Officer Marino found a case of Heineken beer that had a sticker from Becker's Package Store. When they asked Paguay about it, he admitted that he had bought it at Becker's because he ran out. And Officer Wenberg has a picture of the, do you have that with you, Erica? The color picture?
Yes.
A photograph of the beer with the Becker's Package Store sticker on it.
That'd be 2, okay.
Well, the facts are very simple. Those are the reports.
All right, does anybody have any questions of either, well, we'll start with Officer Marino. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask him?
I do.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Officer Marino, I'm curious, when you spoke to Mr. Paguay, obviously he had everybody leave the building. Was he, did he state to you that he understood that he was in violation of his license?
Some nodding and saying yes, but I don't know if he, like we previously, the board's already discussed, if he really understood or fully comprehended the violations. But he was cooperative enough and understood about clearing people out, so I assume by talking to him, he understood what I was, the point I was getting across the violations.
Okay. Do we know that the Becker's scenario was in a follow-up time?
March 1st on the follow-up.
So do we know that he was utilizing that for resale, or do we see him utilizing it? Is it allowed to be in the facility for, it's not
I would
allowed to?
ask Officer Marino, where did you find it? Where did you find the case of beer?
It was under one of the counters, where they have a cooler, and then next to it was where the box was.
Okay.
Was it near other beer?
It was near one of the coolers, the beer cooler.
So it's to be assumed that they were utilizing it for resale?
Yes.
Okay.
But he should not have any alcohol in it.
Okay,
It's not
I just want to
purchased.
make sure that it wasn't in like the back storage container that an employee was keeping it there. So it was 1:43 a.m. And what type of music was it that was playing? You said it was a live band?
It was a DJ.
It was a DJ with amplified
Yes.
music? And I guess that's it for now.
Norm?
No. Good question.
Mark?
Nope.
Officer Marino, what first brought your attention to that establishment at that hour?
The full parking lot.
And did you hear any of the music from when you were driving down Route 28?
You could, if you had your windows down, which I usually do on the midnight shift, so you could hear it if you were driving by, and then your attention was drawn, and then you could the music coming from it.
So when you had some conversation with Mr. Pagway about, you know, the hour and the fact that he wasn't supposed to be having that kind of an event there, how long did it take for the place to get cleared out?
10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, and did you stay there while that was going on? Okay, so after you had the conversation, as a result of that conversation, he seemed to understand you enough that he took action to get the place cleared out?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have, I think. Tracy?
I just want to ask one more question of Officer Magnuson. There are previous violations on this license. Are any of them under appeal?
No. I
Okay.
have the only previous violation is the ABCC violation.
Okay.
I have a copy of that decision. It's not under appeal.
Okay, in terms of the license, I guess I'm, okay, so this
Our
one,
regulations count a prior ABCC
Oh.
violation as a prior violation for us.
is this Mr. Pagway?
Yes. Hello. Oh, I am
Good
sorry.
evening.
Mr. Pagway, take the microphone. Did you know this matter was on for a hearing at 6 o'clock?
I remember this appointment, but I confused. I have the appointment for Thursday, 10:30.
We have, on Thursday, we have our compliance seminar at
For
10 o'clock.
10:30, right?
10 o'clock.
But I remember they make the appointment today for that.
What are you here for tonight? Why are you here?
I remember that because I don't know. Nobody told me the appointment for tonight.
What was that other gentleman's name who was at that conference?
Manny Carchi, Manuel.
Manny Carchi. Where's Mr. Carchi? Is he here
Working.
tonight?
Yeah, he's working.
At your business?
Yes.
He's the one that speaks better out of the two.
Yeah, but I don't know who's the make this appointment for today. So yeah, I'm sorry. So I don't remember that tonight.
Did you know that there was going to be a hearing to see whether we should suspend your liquor license tonight?
No.
Is that your signature, sir?
Come over here and look at that document.
Yeah.
Did you sign, is that your signature?
Yeah, this is my son.
Did you receive this letter?
Yeah, I think we have this letter, yes.
Okay.
What does that letter say?
You might want to go back to it. You can
Yeah,
take, you can.
tell me what that letter says. You can tell me in your own words, but what does it say? What does it say?
This is the notification for you, the Yarmouth selection.
Speak into the microphone so we can hear you, please.
But I can read too much in English, but I understand a little more, so I need to tell my son or my son read this paper. So
You can't understand that paper?
yeah, this is hard for the read.
Okay.
Your son is not here, Luis, is he? Is your son here?
No, he's in the college.
Mike, do you need to swear him in so we can ask him questions?
It depends on what we do. I would have to, yeah, and I don't know if I would be successful doing that, but.
Well, he's currently the manager of record, correct, and the license holder?
Correct.
So I don't think you have a choice, right? We need to deal with this issue.
I don't think that it's fair to anyone concerned to do anything without getting this gentleman some representation that can translate for him as well as so that he understands what's going on. I just, you know, he has a license. It's an issue, but I just don't think that it's appropriate at this point.
But, yeah, I have some problems also with proceeding. When he's with Mr. Carchi, he's able to dialogue
Carchi does better.
much better. I mean, Mr. Carchi isn't totally fluent in English, but he seems to be able to understand the basics and to be able to communicate that with him.
Mr. Chairman, this is obviously a serious matter.
It is.
And Mr. Carchi isn't here tonight. He knew this was a serious matter. He had to have known it was a serious matter, and he should have brought somebody with him. You know, meanwhile, the public at large could be in jeopardy based on his inability to interpret our rules and regulations. So we have a conundrum.
Yes, we do. He's turning around looking at town council. He's not going to be able to give you any more advice. What do you think, Phil? I mean, the only reason I'm asking you is not to put you on the spot. It's because of your familiarity with the people who are involved.
I wouldn't be opposed to giving him a chance to come in with somebody to interpret for him, so long as we don't prolong this. Here's my suggestion. You've taken the evidence that we have to offer.
Yeah, and I intend to finish with that.
Yeah, and I'll give him the reports and continue it for a time fairly soon, a week or two, so if possible, so that we can get this finished.
Okay, well, we're going to, I don't want to deal with him in terms of any testimony, because I don't think it would have any value from what Norm says. Let's finish with the officers, and then give him an opportunity in a short continuance if he wants to.
Why didn't he show up tonight without an interpreter?
He doesn't even understand the question.
Jay? Why don't you come?
If our license was serious.
I won't say forward.
I understand what you're saying, Norm, and I'm not trying to put anybody in a situation.
Let's hear from town council.
So I think the evidence you took so far is fine, but if part of the reason you're continuing is on the basis of a language barrier, and in that he would, for any evidence going forward while he's here, where he has the right to cross, then I think that would be a concern for me. So if you want to continue, I think all the evidence you took so far, because he chose voluntarily not to be here, that's fine, that's locked in. But to the extent that you ask further questions, and you have a real concern that leading to a potential continuance that his ability to understand is not sufficient, then I have a slight concern from a due process standpoint that he wouldn't have the ability to legibly cross-examine. So again, if that's
okay,
the entire basis for continuing is getting a better language.
And I think that is the basis. I mean, I don't know of any other basis that we'd be talking about other than his ability to understand the proceedings and to participate.
Absolutely, but he
But-
should have
but I
showed up
think
tonight with an interpreter, and unfortunately, what happens in the meantime?
I think that town council's point is well taken, and I appreciate your excellent advice on that. And what he's saying is if we proceed on this, and we're saying, on the one hand, we're continuing it because we don't feel he can understand the proceedings sufficiently to meaningfully participate in them. But on the other hand, proceeding with them, that puts us in a difficult place, or potentially it puts us in a difficult place.
Yeah, and again, I want to reiterate that you already took evidence before he showed up, and I don't see a problem with that evidence.
Right.
And to the extent that, I mean, the report's in, and there's some primary evidence here. If you have any follow-up on the facts, then I think it would, if you're going to continue, then on the grounds that Norm suggested, then I would halt the evidentiary record as well and just cut it off now and continue.
Okay, well, we'll do that.
Would be mine.
All right.
That'd be my recommendation, just to keep the due process arm of things intact.
It's very good advice, thank you. All right, so on town council's advice, let's continue this matter. What do we have for a date? We won't take any further evidence, but the evidence that we have will stay in the record and need not be repeated. You can supplement it if you wish when he comes back.
The next date, we're scheduled May 7th.
All right. You take the stand, stand at the podium. So what's that, 2 weeks from today?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Is it May 7th?
May 7th, yeah.
I'm trying to explain it to him as simply as I can. I think it's 2 weeks, isn't it, May 7th? You have to come back here
Okay.
on May 7th.
May 7, okay.
It's 2 weeks.
Okay.
At 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, all right.
And we're going to continue with the hearing to see if we're going to suspend your liquor license and your entertainment license. Oh, well, you don't have he doesn't have an entertainment license. See if we're going to suspend your liquor license. It's very serious.
Oh.
So you have to bring somebody who can interpret for you, so you can understand everything.
Oh, okay. Do you need come?
Don't come by
manager?
yourself.
Do you need,
Come with your son or Mr. Karchi or somebody like that.
Oh, okay.
You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. I think we'll send them another notice. We can continue. So do we have a motion to continue the matter until May 7th at 6 p.m.?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right.
Opposed, I'm opposed.
Tracy's opposed, so we have 3-1 in favor of the continuance. May 2nd, May 7th, is it?
May
7th? May 7th, that's 2 weeks.
What time?
6.
6 o'clock.
Oh,
Come with Mr. Karchi or your son or both of them.
Oh, okay.
Don't come alone, because you won't be able to understand.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, officers. Thank you, Phil. All right. That concludes that unorthodox
Thank you.
hearing for tonight,
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
We'll move on with our next agenda item. It's the Invisio Public Dashboard. Chris, are you handling this?
No, the implementation team's going to give you give the board a quick
Okay.
overview
All right.
of the application, but just to give you a brief update, as the projector powers up, as you recall, we implemented the Invisio strategy management application close to 8 months ago. We have all town departments using it to help coordinate and track their progress toward the established town goals. And part of our effort was to be able to share that progress with the public at large. And the tool you'll see tonight, or the presentation that you'll see tonight, is the tool to be able to share that progress with the public. So, looks like we're booting up, so I'll kick it over to the team here.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Tara Monroe, and I work upstairs in the assessing division. We actually were before you not that long ago, back in October, so I guess it was a little while ago. This is Laura Hayden.
Laura Hayden, hi.
She works for the DPW, And Mary Wagon works in community development, and Kathy Bailey actually is part of our team as well, and she's on vacation. So we're going to, as soon as we get powered up here, we're just going to give you a brief presentation and update and maybe get some feedback. Okay. We can still update you. It would be better, though, if you could see. So basically, as far as our dashboard efforts go, we have an internal dashboard where staff has been updating all of the various projects that we've been working on, and based on the goals that you all set, and each of those goals all have focus areas attached to them, and those focus areas are what actually contribute to the success of the projects that contribute to the success of the goals. And then each one of those focus areas then has sub-actions attached to it, and those are basically like our updates, which you're going to see. And all those internal updates that everybody's been working so hard on have now been officially uploaded into our public dashboard, which we're anxious to roll out to the public and get some feedback as well. But we certainly wanted you to take a look at it and at least show it to you and give you an overview. You look good?
Awesome picture. Beautiful Yarmouth.
So this right here basically is our home page, and clearly that's Yarmouth. And it's basically a welcome to the public and to the users. So it's a welcome, and it's a brief explanation of what the dashboard is and what we've been doing. And basically, there we go. There's our, so these are all the goals right here, and we've put what we believe to be some appropriate pictures. The goals are clearly captioned here. So what we're going to do now is to show you a couple of examples of what we've done and how everything basically works with the public dashboard. So Mary has clicked on clean water, and this right here is our focus area, which you can see it's the clean water, the caption of the focus area itself right there. Basically the description of that is your goal up there. Those underneath it are your focus areas, and what you can clearly see here is all of, well, hopefully clearly see. Oh, well. I can't help you there. So what we're showing here is the updates, the status bars and the status circles, and all the updates that we're putting in and we're entering are actually tracking tools so that we can share with the public progress that we've made. And so you can see here our bars, and if you hover on them as Mary's doing, it's going to give you, we've got a legend on the homepage as well, explaining what the different colors mean. But by hovering on them, it actually tells you what they are. So for instance, if you're on blue, that you can see that's a % completed. I'm not clearly seeing that, but I believe it's 33.3. And then if you hover, on any of them, it will tell you, like the green means it's on track. The yellow means there's been some minor interruptions or minor disruption, really, and so on. And then you can see on the progress circles, again, it's showing you overall how much progress has been made on the actual goal. So we thought that was a good part of the program. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is excellent. And then if you want to click on. So these down here are the sub-actions I mentioned earlier. And again, you've got a whole bunch there of projects that we've been working on, the progress, whether or not are they on track, has there been any disruption, have they been completed yet? And, that's the basics in a nutshell of how the program works, and it's showing you that it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing, which we've been pretty happy with. And so that was, one of the areas. We can also do, how about some customer service? Yep. So here we are on the customer service. And again, you've got your status bars here, you've got your progress bars here. You are going to notice that not everything is going to have a complete, it's going to be, I guess what you would say, a never-ending goal, exceptional customer service. We don't say, as of December 31st, we're no longer going to provide exceptional customer service. So that's a never-ending goal. So you're not going to see a completion date, because it's something we're always going to be striving for. And that was just the example that we used, but there are others that are in there as well that are kind of open-ended without an expiration date. So. Yeah, sure. Yep. And again, this is basically showing you, what we've already mentioned, but we just wanted you to be able to see a bunch of different examples. Not too many. This is it. We're going to stop here. We're not going to go piece by piece through the whole program. But so basically, this is where we're at right now. So, what else did we have?
There's the dashboard, right? That's the legend, yes.
Right. Yep. Exactly, the legend. And then we also are in the process of setting up an email account where the public could send in, it would be strategicplanning@yarmouth.ma.us, could send in their questions. And, we've got a couple of users assigned to them. We're still work in progress on that, but IT is on it. And
I went through the link today and looked at some of those, and it's easy to get through, but where is that going to show on our website? How does a resident get to that?
We're actually going to have a link right to this public dashboard on our homepage.
Okay.
So that you'll be able to just click on it and open it right up just the way that we did.
All right. And what will the caption read on the homepage?
So the caption, that welcome is still going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
We have a choice whether we can, I'm assuming going forward, our email site, our website is going to have its own home picture. So we have a choice with the dashboard of either setting it up to replace the picture that we have on the page or not. So in other words, we could go with this picture, or we could stay with the Town of Yarmouth main picture.
Yeah, my question is really more related to, how is someone that goes to the Yarmouth homepage, why would they even ask? I mean, why would they even go to this at that point? What is going to attract them to do that?
We're going to have it set up on the homepage, whether it be check this out or, click here. I mean, something that kind of grabs you, so it's not going to be a little link that's buried in a paragraph. It's going to say, hey, check us out, or this is what we've done, or, I'm a big color fan, whether it be colors or, something that's going to grab their attention.
Okay.
Well, this is much more visually pleasing than what our website is now.
Right. Yeah.
So this is a good segue. So this page here will live right now in the Board of Selectmen goals subpage that you have when you post your annual goals and the progress reports that we've done in the past. We are in the process, as I'm sure you will remember, of revamping the town's homepage to make it a little bit more user-friendly and a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, and to call out some of the more important pages. And so essentially what we're planning to do, and this will be reviewed with the board, is when you hit the homepage, There'll be a new layout where you scroll down, and we're going to bring to the forefront some important things that people usually go to, like online services, jobs, beaches, and recreation. And one of those boxes will be, check out the town's progress towards the town's strategic goals. So there'll be a nice call out, and it'll probably be a miniature image of this page that you see here.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be worthwhile, you know, I don't know what we're doing at town meeting. I'm not suggesting a presentation, formal presentation, but I think certainly getting people at town meeting aware of this so that, you know, because those are people that are more likely to go on
Sure.
and do something in more depth with regard to our goals. So,
We agree with you 100%. We've actually discussed that at length.
We're working with Dan Horgan as we prepare for town meeting and preliminary discussions. I think what we're going to do is, his thought is, you know, as we open up town meeting, that we just do a quick presentation. We have this on the screen, we showcase it, not necessarily drill down, but just to let people know a quick update of the effort, and then the actual URL where people can find it. And we'll also link to it right from the homepage so that it's easy to find initially for folks.
okay. Okay.
As long as the board supports that presentation at
No, I
town
think
meeting.
that makes some sense. Yeah.
Good.
Good. Any comments or questions? Were you complete? Or
I think
questions at
we're good. We wanted to keep this brief and simple. I mean, we've already presented it, so this is just the final project. It was just more of a brief overview, you know, not a piece-by-piece
It's very
dissection of the
visual,
program.
which is terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like visual.
Questions from board members?
I'd be happy to jump in. Mike?
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think, as I think people have heard me speak about this often enough, I think our website is an incredibly important platform to help the community stay educated and informed about all the important things that are being done here by the select board, other boards in town, and by town staff. It's amazing the amount of work that goes on in this community that unfortunately doesn't get out. So the more that we can improve the platform to help people understand all the work that's going on here is incredibly important. I'm very frustrated with the website because I believe it actually operates at almost a dysfunctional level. It's not user-friendly. For people that in the community, I mean, I'm very computer-oriented, but most people in this community are not. And so, you know, if you can't find something without a few clicks or get to it, for many people it no longer becomes something that they'll even be interested in utilizing. They become turned off and they'll be discouraged. And so I hope as we continue to find ways to refine it, what's important is going to be not just the look of it and the feel of it and the information in it, but finding ways to make it easy for so many of our residents to be able to access. Because I think over time, you know, there are more and more things that we can do with this site. As you know, in recent years, we've been, you know, you can pay bills, you can literally do a lot of the work that you might normally do by coming to town hall. And I think for many people, the website, because it's not an easy one currently now to work with, that there are things that folks just come to town hall to do. Not that we don't want them to come to town hall, we certainly do, but if there's an alternative that might be more convenient for people that might be less mobile, it would be great for them to be able to find an easy way to utilize it. So, you know, ease is going to be incredibly important. I spend a lot of time looking at other municipal websites, and I'm just blown away at the extent to which there's an effort and ongoing commitment to utilize the web platform in the way that I've been describing. And that's why I think the time and effort that you're spending on this is well worth it. And I'm going to continue to strongly support doing this and keep taking it to, you know, a new level.
Sure.
Keep finding ways to build on it and to make it a successful platform. I mean, the other area of communications, which I know, you know, we need to talk more about, is in the whole area of the TV and online video streaming and some of the other things. I know that's a work in progress, and I see improvements there as well. So I want to applaud you for all the time and energy and effort that you're spending on this. I want to note, Chris, I appreciate all the effort and the energy that you're putting into this. I think it's terrific to see, with everything else going on, and all things that you're being sort of wrestling with to be able to find the time and the resources to continue to make progress on this. So I'm enthusiastic, I'm excited, I applaud everything that you're doing.
Excellent, thank you.
Anybody else?
No, I really like it. I just think that it's, we need to make sure we're very cognizant of keeping the information up to date, because there's nothing worse than putting out old information.
Yep.
And so I get concerned, as I said the last time, how much time our staff is going to be taking updating this on a regular basis. And so I just hope it does stay up to date. I'm worried about how much time it's going to take for staff to be able to do that.
The department heads are used to updating, they used to send the updates all the time to town administration, and now they just put it on here instead, so.
Good.
It's something they're doing every week anyway.
In terms of the interactivity, I think that that's key, and making sure it gets to the right people so it can be responded to is really important.
Okay.
So if we're looking to interact with people, hopefully it's a two-way, they're not just asking questions. Hopefully there's somebody there that's going to disperse it to get the right answer to the right person.
Sure.
But thank you.
Definitely.
Great work.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time and effort on this.
Excellent, thank you.
Norm?
Yes.
This guy had also applied to transfer his license. And I didn't open that portion of it or continue it. I don't think I need him to continue this, but I do think I have to open it and get a motion.
I can take care of it, thank you.
Taking a reason to re-advertise it.
Mike, I'll let you take over for a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In a prior liquor hearing, there was another companion matter that we did not open, that we're going to open just quickly for the record and continue on a motion to May 7th at 6 o'clock. So I'm just going to read this ad and take a quick motion, and we'll be done with it. Town of Yarmouth Board of Selectmen hearing, transfer of liquor license and change of hours. The Yarmouth Board of Selectmen, acting as the local licensing authority, has received an application for a transfer of an annual wine and malt license and change of hours from Grand Cafe Restaurant, Inc., Manuel Flavio Carci, Landy, manager. The license is being transferred from Louis Pagway to Grand Cafe Restaurant, Inc. The premise, located at 80 Route 28 West Yarmouth, is a single-story, 2,500 square foot restaurant building with 2 entrances and exits. Grand Cafe Restaurant, Inc. is requesting that the hours of operation be changed from the current hours, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sundays, to 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily. Hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019, in the hearing room at Town Hall, 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth. The Board of Selectmen meeting begins at 6 p.m. Written comments will be accepted until 4:30 p.m. Friday, April 19, 2019, in the Selectmen's office at Town Hall. Verbal comments will be accepted at the hearing. I would like a motion to continue this matter to May 7th at 6 p.m., please.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, this matter is also continued. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion of the Willow Street Yarmouth Road project, which should be a lot of fun, right, Steve?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Stephen Tupper. I'm the Transportation Program Manager at the Cape Cod Commission. So thank you, all members of the board, for taking the time to hear about this project, or should I say potential project. So I'll talk a little bit about the history of the project, then make some discussion of a recent grant opportunity. It actually was announced last week, so we have some very new information on that, and then touch on what could be Yarmouth's role in this project. So first, I'll take a step back to give a little more broad context for the project. So this comes out of a Hyannis access study that was done several years ago. There are actually a couple different versions of it done by the state, and then a final version in 2013 by the Cape Cod Commission. And the goal was really to look at ways to improve access to Hyannis. Hyannis being, of course, the commercial hub of the Cape, having access to the Cape Cod Hospital, ferries to Nantucket, airport, Hyannis Transportation Center, a lot of regional resources. So access to that area is certainly critical. So what the Hyannis Access Study did was look globally at solutions to the area, looking at everything from potential for exit 6.5, looking at improvements to the airport rotary, looking at a whole bunch of potential improvements to the area to improve overall access. Out of that study came a number of phased projects, and the commission staff have been working with town staff in Barnstable and Yarmouth as well at moving forward a number of these projects. So one project that you may be familiar with is what we consider phase 1 of Hyannis Access, and that's the intersection at Route 28 and Yarmouth Road. Cam Appliance, DJ's Wings on that intersection. So that project is fully funded and will begin construction next year. So we'll see some great improvements to that intersection. But that still leaves a number of challenges in the area. So that's where the Yarmouth Road Willow Street project comes in specifically. And you'll see within your packet there's a 3-page handout that briefly summarizes the project and the potential grant application. So what this project would be to deal with the section of Willow Street, as it's called in the town of Yarmouth, and then Yarmouth Road as you transition into Barnstable. So the entire corridor is 1.5 miles. So it picks up on Willow Street just south of the Higgins-Kroll intersection, where there was those relatively recent improvements at the ramp, and then follows the 2-lane section of roadway all the way to the intersection project down at Route 28 and Yarmouth Road. So essentially it'll have 2 intersections with great improvements and then a segment in between that really is in need of some improvements. So certainly we're all familiar with the condition of that roadway, 2-lane roadway with significant queuing heading into Hyannis, and also certainly impacts access to West Yarmouth as well. So a lot of the congestion in that area. So over the course of the studies, there was a preferred alternative identified for that segment of roadway. So the preferred alternative, which is shown on the 3rd page of your packet, would change the 2-lane undivided roadway to a 4-lane divided roadway with a landscape median, and also provide a bicycle path, multi-use path, along the railroad track, separated by a fence. So ultimately, that multi-use path would connect to the Cape Cod Rail Trail that's being extended out into this area and be able to bring folks right into Hyannis. So a great project, and one that the commission staff have been behind, as well as town of Barnstable staff. In 2017, the Cape Cod Commission and town of Barnstable partnered on a grant application to try to get some federal funds for this roadway. It's certainly a very large project for the town to take on. Both sections are town-owned sections in the town of Yarmouth and in the town of Barnstable. So we went for what was at the time known as a Tiger grant. So that's one of the few transportation grants that you can go for direct federal funding. So at that time, we partnered for a grant application. Ultimately, we weren't successful in 2017. However, we got a recap after from federal highway staff and got a lot of good feedback. There are essentially 2 rounds to that grant round, and we were just 1 tick below moving on to round 2, where they get more serious consideration of the projects. So we've already gone through the effort of preparing all of the application materials. We've had a great learning experience and a couple of things we can tweak, and we're very excited to hear last week that the federal government is announcing a new grant opportunity. It's now known as the BUILD grant under the new administration. Essentially the same program, but with a new administration. They came up with a new name, and BUILD refers to better utilizing investments to leverage development. But the BUILD grant is an ability to access federal funding. We get 20% of the funding from the federal government, and then you need 80% from the federal government government, and then you need a 20% match. So you get a lot of bang for your buck for this grant. So something that the town of Barnstable is interested in pursuing again. So we've been working with town DPW and staff from Department of Planning and Economic Development to start to develop a new grant application for this 2019 build grant. As I said, it was just announced last week, so we're in the early phases of working into this project. We're working on updating project costs, looking at partners for the project. So we'll be getting some more detailed information for costs in the next couple of months, heading towards an application in July. The deadline for this grant application is July 15th. One thing that was noted last time around is that partnerships are very important for this project. So they'd like to see a lot of regional cooperation. Certainly last time around, the town administrator sent in a letter of support from the town of Yarmouth. We also get letters of support from all the other regional major organizations, from the Regional Transit Authority, the hospital, a number of business development groups, Chamber of Commerce, those sort of groups, very supportive of this project. But one thing that we did hear from our federal partners is they would like to see a more active role from the town of Yarmouth. One in that they'd like to see that intermunicipal cooperation, and then certainly a portion of the roadway, approximately a third of the roadway, is within the town of Yarmouth. So what we wanted to do today is just to come and give a little brief history of the project, let you know of the process, and certainly we'll be working with staff in both towns as we continue to develop the grant application, but would be love to hear about potential role for Yarmouth in this project. So you could certainly be formally a project partner. We are looking for different funding opportunities to help leverage that local support. Last time around, town of Barnstable put up the local match in its entirety, so it would be great if we could get a few other groups in on that as well. Certainly the portion of non-federal money is actually one of the competitive factors. So the more money you can bring to the table, the more likely you will get that federal funding. So I don't have specific numbers at this point because we're in the process of updating all of our costs from last year, or from 2 years ago, I should say. But in terms of order of magnitude, it's about a $30 million, $32 million project last time. So the local match from the town was a little over $7 million, town of Yarmouth last time. But we'll be updating those numbers. But certainly just wanted to give you a brief update at this meeting so you're aware of the project, and certainly are able to come back with more details if you are so inclined.
Okay. Open to questions at this point.
Yeah, I'm a little stumped on what do we have to do to show more engagement?
Yeah. Where's Barnstable? Are they here with you today?
Throw some money at
Barnstable
it, I
here
guess.
to engage with us today?
So certainly, we've been working with Barnstable staff throughout the process. There's been discussions at the DPW level, but one thing that would certainly show commitment is formally coming in as a partner on the project. Last time around, there was a very quick turnaround to get the application out, so we got a letter of support, but not a formal partnership on the grant. So that would be one level we could come in.
Has anybody formally asked us to be a partner?
That's what we're starting with today.
All
The
right.
grant application came out last week, so this is why we're just getting started.
Yeah, I'm a little stumped that somehow we need to do more. I don't think we've been asked. This is a project that I think a lot of folks in Yarmouth would like to see accomplished, so I don't see any impediment for us. Although maybe we want to take it up at a future board meeting, but at least from my observation, it's an important project. That road is such a bottleneck, and it's such a problem. And quite frankly, the drawings that I've seen look, every time we do a road project, we're always messing with the aesthetics, and this actually is a road project that, well, at least based on the drawings that we've seen, looks much better
Absolutely.
than what's there now. What's there now needs significant improvement. And so what we're seeing so far, I think, is a huge step in the right direction. What I would like to do is if you have other drawings, other renderings, I think one way we can share this information with Yarmouth residents is, again, to get some of the stuff on our website so that we can find ways to better inform Yarmouth residents as to what's going on, what the plan is, what the cost is, where you hope to get money, and if they have obviously, this is an early stage of design, so if they have some issues or concerns or some suggestions for making improvements, they can let the town administrator's office know, or the DPW director. I think it's in our interest to be a partner, because I do believe as the design of this evolves, I think we want to be able to provide more input. I'm not sure how much input we had, quite frankly, in the design of this from the very beginning.
I could speak a little to that if you'd like.
Oh, please.
So certainly these designs came out of the Hyannis Access Study and as a follow-up, the Yarmouth Road Study. And as part of those studies, there was certainly involvement from the town of Yarmouth, both at the administration level and the DPW. It is a few years back, but they were certainly Yarmouth was at the table developing this project.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Yeah, but I think it would be helpful to also get others in the community a little bit more aware and involved, so I think the more information you could provide us. I'm not sure what we've been given tonight is something that I would consider sufficient to help the Yarmouth residents understand what's going on, so maybe you can help give us some more information about how this thing's going to look, how it's going to work, and then maybe we can do something on the website to at least get information out, and for people that do have comments, we can make sure that we've got a point of contact here in Town Hall for people to send that information. But I'm totally supportive to being more engaged and more supportive. And I'm totally supportive of getting as much federal money and state money as we can to get the project off the ground.
Great comments, and just to respond to the need for more information, we certainly have lots of it. Our plan is, the next step is to develop a project website with all that information. So as soon as we have that up, we'll certainly share that with town staff.
Yeah, I think, quite frankly, a lot of people in town would want to know, what's this going to look like? How will it affect me? How will it affect traffic? I think it's all positive, but I think folks themselves are not going to want to hear it from me. They're going to want to see for themselves, so help us out with that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What is the order, the sequence here in terms of project? The work down at the CAM end, that's going to kick off in the next year or so, right?
Correct.
From there back toward Route 6 is a subsequent part of the project.
Correct.
So what time frame are we really looking at?
So if we were successful with this grant, then funding would be obligated in federal fiscal year 2021. So it would lag a couple years behind the intersection project.
Okay.
If we were not successful in the grant, there would be certainly no timeline. It's a big project to get off the ground without that federal assistance.
Okay. All right. And so, in terms of commitment, when you talk about commitment of funding from a town perspective, what dollar amount and what time frame would we be talking about?
So two very good questions on. So certainly being a partner is one thing, but bringing financing bringing some funding to the table is really what some of the federal partners wanted to see. So as we develop some additional costs in the next month or so, we can start to fine tune what the local match would be, and then we could talk about how those could be split between the towns. So certainly that's a discussion that I would want to happen at the local level, not involving the commission staff in particular, but we'll be able to put all the information out there on the table, and that would all need to be wrapped up for the application that would be submitted by July 15th. So we still have a little bit of time to work on those things.
Okay. Tracy, you
I
have any
wouldn't be
questions?
interested in doing anything unless we have a conversation with Barnstable about what our commitment would be, what the benefit is to our people, and when in terms of our capital planning, I don't believe that this was a priority for us. It wasn't on our radar in terms of what our upcoming projects are. Of course, leveraging this federal funding would be great, but to me, this is something that Hyannis wants. The majority of the road in Yarmouth was just redone, our portion, to some extent. Now, I'm not saying that getting to Hyannis isn't important, getting to the hospital, but without knowing what it's going to cost, I think this conversation is better left for another night.
Do we know, is most of the hospital access that comes down Route 6 through this corridor?
My understanding, talking with hospital staff leading up to this project, is that the majority of traffic would be coming through here. Certainly if you're more close in Yarmouth, it'd be along 28, but certainly everything further down the Cape goes down this corridor. And in fact, I understand that they call ahead to see how backed up this roadway is, and then detour around camp if they need to get to the hospital if it's quicker. So certainly you don't want ambulances detouring. These are very critical patients that need to get there. So that was one of the impetuses of the project.
Okay. So there are some very real health considerations, impacts of making sure that corridor is flowing well.
Certainly.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one more question.
Yes.
One of the things that I'm interested in is, are some of the properties that might be potential sources of pollution being removed or bought out or relocated in that area?
Yes, another great question, and something that was discussed in the planning for this project.
Yeah.
So this project would require taking of all properties on the west side of the roadway.
Really?
Everything between Willow Street, Yarmouth Road, and the rail line.
That's interesting.
And that would take out a lot of the facilities that we know have some pollution issues. Certainly,
Yeah, because one of the things I'm very concerned about is protecting our water supplies. And when you look at the Zone 2s that come into Yarmouth, there's some part of that watershed that does work its way into drinking water supplies or groundwater resources that affect Yarmouth residents. So I think that'll be very important. In fact, some of those contribute to some of the issues potentially for the site that's undergoing significant treatment right now in Hyannis. So what's often lost is the extent to which these are potential sources down the road. I'm not suggesting any of the properties that are being relocated or moved are actually causing pollution, but when you actually look at the uses and the activities, they're clearly inconsistent with groundwater protection for some of the water supplies that we have in the area. So I would be interested in knowing as well the nature of the properties that are being relocated. So it goes to public safety, public health, but also groundwater.
Absolutely. We can document all those typically automotive uses that are a threat.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, well, I guess we'll wait to hear from you with further news on this.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll move ahead to a reintroduction of the golf operations vote that we had 2 weeks ago. And from what I understand, there were some folks that were interested in a clearer vote from the board with regard to...
This was back on again?
So what I'd asked the golf division to do after that direction from the last meeting is prepare one thing for you was a organizational chart, which is on the second page of the document that is titled Golf Division. So this would be representative of what the going forward, now that the town will retain golf, what the management structure looks like. And the cover page on that is some of the key elements that are part of the 5-year plan for the division. It addresses wage, golf operational software, PGA Pro, finances, food and beverage, the customer experience, and contracted support services. So I've asked Scott Gilmore to address those for you. And this is a higher view so that you could get some level of comfort as to where we plan to depart after tonight when we get the board to endorse retaining of golf as a municipal enterprise.
Okay, great. Thank you. Scott? How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'd just like to hand these out as well. This is membership updates year to date.
I didn't talk about it. Thank you.
I think one of the, just as a point of introduction, one of the concerns that has been expressed is that some people felt there was a lack of clarity, specificity on the direction, and that as a result, some folks were, some previous pass holders were still showing some reluctance to moving ahead without a more affirmative vote on the part of the board. So, and secondly, our board certainly had expressed interest in hearing more about a concrete or more definitive, I'll put it that way, plan for moving forward before we made any significant commitments. So I think that's certainly why Scott is here tonight to talk to us about that. So go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so before you is the 5-year plan, a basic 5-year plan of what we got going on. So I'll just go briefly through it. For the wage structure, we're currently at $12 an hour. We also have a plan in place to increase it accordingly with the state minimum wage over the next 5 years. That is based on daily fee increases year after year, as well as membership increases year after year, as we go before you every year to do that.
So just 5% alone, just to cover the wage costs, is what your projection is, according to this?
Right, after.
So there'll be no room for anything else? It's every year we have to go 5% just to cover the wage?
Correct. Well, yeah, it's 5% at the minimum.
Well,
at
that's
that
the
point.
max, right?
Yeah, at current right now. But we're going to town meeting to jump it to 1150 and then the 5% after that. As far as the golf software, we've mentioned that's kind of a big problem for us. It's just outdated. There's a lot of better systems on the market. We're looking at a hopefully 60 to 90 day time frame on that. That includes the entire operation, food, beverage, tee sheets, golf operations to better suit Yarmouth Golf. The one we have just doesn't do well for us. This would be an all-encompass software, which we would get the POS system, the tee sheet, the website, everything in one unit. Currently, we have multiple different vendors that service us, and intermeshing them isn't working so well for us.
I know I personally have seen over a couple of years multiple instances where the systems have been down, there have been issues with the software. I mean, it's very evident and very frustrating to the staff.
Right. Yeah, and we address the issues when they come up. Some get done in a timely manner, some don't. You know, we're at the mercy of our vendors at that point, whether they get done in a timely manner. You know, there's members of our committee that don't even get emails from our membership emails. We go to CyberGolf and we say, what's going on? They said it's nothing on their end, nothing on our end. So I don't know where it's getting lost cyberspace maybe at this point. We're looking to just solve all these issues to make sure we get a system that can handle everything that we're looking to try to do.
Scott, can you tell me specifically who from your organizational chart is responsible to actually get that accomplished? Who's going to make sure it gets accomplished in 6 to 9 days? Is there a point person?
Well, we're looking at a contracted services, correct, to do that
Yeah,
at
so
this point?
there's, you know, we've spent a lot of the off-season looking at what I would call like organically developed off-the-shelf systems. The other option that we have underway is to vend our way to get a solution. So there is a vendor package that other national brands use presently to do that, and it would be a matter of how much would it be. Can't be proprietary. We'd have to be able to own it and then walk into a system. So we're kind of measuring what the benefit would be then from starting from something where we'd have to train our people on a system that's new to us versus something that's already working nationally. So we're on, that's under evaluation now. We're waiting for some quotes to come back to us on the
So
cost of
60
that.
to 90 days is really just kind of
No,
a,
it doesn't have to be a significant RFP. The idea would be we solicit quotes over the next 30 days, do an evaluation, and then we make a decision rather rapidly after that.
I guess I'm just gonna, I'm concerned because we're pointing out a plan with really no plan. We had this before when we first went into the red, so to say, and it came before us. We had these ideas that we were working on. But personally, I'd like to see very specific, who's the point person, how is it
Well,
gonna
Scott's
happen?
he's the director of golf, right? So it's a collaborative team effort. I'm involved with it, Pat Armstrong's involved with it, Rich Bienvenu is involved with the technical solicitation associated with that. Part of our challenge was, while we were in this 6-month period of doing this RFP, we didn't move on a lot of things. That didn't mean that we didn't do a lot of analysis or research. It was, we couldn't get in position to make a final decision, because if we'd ended up going with a vendor, we didn't want to procure something in advance of that. The vendor would bring in their own, whereas what we did learn from that process is that the vendors that are out there have some pretty good data software that we might be able to purchase, just flat out purchase it for a cost of doing business. And that's where we're at now, is that we're in that evaluative stage as to whether or not that would make sense going forward.
So if we did select a contract service, then pretty much the project manager would be the contract service itself.
Yeah,
And-
yeah, so they would assign somebody to work with us to make sure our team is trained on it, the whole ball of wax, but all the business operation aspect of golf relies with Scott.
I mean, it's I doubt that there's a great deal of modification required to many of these packages to use them for our operations. I mean, they've been.
They do it all over the country right now, and it's like I call it kind of a plug-and-play model. What I don't want to be stuck with is an example of this would be like what our website is. If there's a problem with it, it's all on us.
Yeah.
That's way too complicated for what we're looking to do. It ties up our staff resources and labor. So if there's something out there that is tried and true and successful, I'd rather plug into that.
Okay.
And look to them for any troubleshooting that goes on.
Right, and to further that with Dan, we've done some numerous research on multiple different ones that would work for us, and going this way would benefit us that way as well. So we've been doing this for almost 6 months of what would work for Yarmouth. So we've kind of narrowed the field down a little bit on how to get the right POS for us. As far as the PGA Pro, I think there's a little bit of misconception of that on our staff at this point. Currently, we have 3 staff members that have PGA accreditation. We have Dennis Hoy, Eric Nowicki, and Jimmy Hallett all have PGA accreditation. So if members are looking for something, or the daily public, we have those people on staff to help them out.
Okay.
That's big for us. We're also looking at other ways to utilize them in better ways at this point. Whether it's more lessons or clinics or whatever we got up the pipeline. I know we're working on a big junior golf initiative to get more involved in that. You know, we did some stuff last year with recreation. We want to do a bigger plan and get more involved for juniors, families, really anyone, to put out a better PGA initiative from us. For the financials, well, we are working hard with the finance team to make sure all reporting is clear and matches town reporting, so we present the right numbers to you and to everyone else to make sure we're all on the same page. We don't want to get into any situations that may have happened in the past. We just want to make sure we're all clear on everything we got going on. For food and beverage, we have hired Steve Marlin. He brings over 20 years experience. He managed some pretty high-end restaurants in New York. He brings a lot of knowledge to us to help us in the restaurants to create a better revenue, lower food costs, better food quality. I've heard nothing but great things so far this year from the restaurants. Everybody's telling me the food is great. So that's working out pretty well for us now. And as I said before, we'll know by the end of the year whether this is something to keep in the house, or we put an RFP at that point and see what's going on with that. But so far, everything's working out pretty well with Steve at the helm of that. As we go forward to marketing, we are looking to implement a customer experience marketing position. We do have a vacant operations assistant position available in the town. So we are looking to repurpose that and go in front of the personnel board with a different job description. Then we go to contracted services, which was kind of talked about a little bit earlier with the POS system. We do have that available to us when we need to go things for planning, marketing, or technical assistance. We will have that available as well. And then for the organization chart, also in front of you, just a quick snapshot of what we have currently and what we're kind of looking to do in the future a little bit. But this is kind of what we got going on now at the golf courses. You know, we have an assistant at both locations on the maintenance side to take care of the day-to-day there. We have operations assistants, you know, for Bulk Culver, Forest Bayberry, and Bass River. We are looking for that customer experience. Operations assistant has another role to fill to help us with the marketing, the planning, all that stuff. And then we do have a personal office assistant for the financial support, payroll, and everything on the back end. I did put on here some retail specialists, PGA accredited. I mean, we do have 3 members of our staff that have that, so to better utilize them is what we're looking at to do to, again, provide those services to make us more successful, have the junior programs, the families, the leagues we have currently, but to better utilize them. That's pretty much it for that. And then the handout I gave you is the current membership, what we have now. The first sheet is based on Munis. A little bit, what we have is the way we run is calendar year for memberships. So you get a membership in January, goes to December, but because the fiscal runs in June, July, we have that overlap. So the numbers you see here in front of you are from Munis, and that's as of April 15th. So we have the resident member. The non-resident member is what we use to track anyone not from Yarmouth at this point, to figure out at the end of the year how many people we have from the new structure. And then the capital charge. As you can see to this point, as of April 15th, we're at $429,310. And then you have the last 5 years as of June 30th, where we were, which is pretty even across the board from that. So a little over like 55 to 60% of the way there at this point. If you turn the page, this is from Cyber Golf. I mean, no, I'm sorry, not Cyber, this is from Chelsea. Because it's based on the calendar year. If you go to 2019, these are all the memberships we have sold so far this year, and the categories that we have sold them in. So for instance, the linked membership, which is new to us this year, we've already sold 12 of those. The senior annual, also new, is 32. Non-resident is 38. That's what, as I said before, a way to track anyone not from Yarmouth. And we're at 384 of the regular annual pass. For junior is 22, young adult 11, and under 35 is 36 of them. That is a quick snapshot of where we're at currently year to date.
Scott, did you say that this detail on the annual passes is calendar basis?
The first page?
No, the second and third page.
Yeah,
Is
this
that
is
calendar
based
year
on Chelsea. So
Yeah.
when you do membership, it's on the calendar year, not through, because we sell it January.
It's not on the
through-
fiscal year basis?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because we sell it through January to December instead
All
of
right.
the June to July.
okay. All right, so as we're looking at the 2019 annual passes, clearly what that's showing at this point is that the regular annual passes are weak so far compared to previous years.
Well, the ones you see before 17 and 18, that is the entire year,
Okay.
not
Yep.
to date. So,
Right, I understand.
That's all at that point. The 19 is currently year to date at this point.
Scott, do you know approximately when the cutoff date is for people who would be purchasing annual passes? In other words, most golfers would buy them by what date?
Well, because we have the payment plan, May 15th is another deadline for another payment. And what that means is it's not that you have to pay it by that date. If you haven't paid by then, we don't let you play any further until you do pay up. So, there's a lot of people that utilize the payment plan. So until May 15th comes around, and all those people have paid or around, it usually takes a couple weeks after that we would have a better idea, end of May, June 1st, of how many members have actually, at that point, because of the payment plan.
So do you know, out of those 384, how many of those people are on a payment plan and how many of them have paid?
The 384 is the full amount.
Those are people who paid everything?
Yep.
And the people that are making payments are not included yet?
It's hard to include them because they actually haven't paid the full amount.
Okay.
Some people are at, $650, or, there's the rarity that someone's only paid their first payment. They could have gone away for a while and then get back to us.
All right.
Well, these numbers don't really match. Trying to figure out the 2019 passes sold based on the numbers you gave there is 421,893. The non-resident comes out to 33.
What numbers are you trying to calculate?
The 38 times 892 comes out to 33,896 for 2019 passes. On the front for 2019, it says non-residents is 21,300. The total of that 2019 passes comes out to be 421.
Well, the non-resident could include the senior or a junior or a young adult. What the non-resident means for us, because we actually don't have a non-resident anymore, it's just a way for us to track whoever's not in Yarmouth.
What's included in this 21,000 then, on the front page?
Anyone that signed up through that is not in Yarmouth. Because our system won't allow us to go crazy in depth of what we have. We only set a certain amount of buttons in the POS system. So we're tracking if this system was working by, at the end of the year, we want to come to you and say, yeah, we had 300 people not from Yarmouth sign up this year. So that's how we're tracking that right now.
Okay, so you have 38 non-resident at 892. Comes out to 33,896. Non-resident in the front is 21,330.
Right, so the thing that happens here is this is Chelsea year to date, like as of today, that was pulled, and this is as of April 15th.
Okay, so they're not the same.
Not quite, yeah.
It's hard to, because Chelsea runs on the calendar year and Munis runs on the fiscal year, they're hard to match them up directly at any given point, because we always lag a little bit.
Well, this gives us a general idea at this stage, and that's kind of what we're looking for.
Right.
Does the Enterprise Committee have any thoughts or observations on this at this point with regard to the membership sales?
The conversations that we've had with the Enterprise Committee and with golf operations is that we are trending almost as close to our sales for last year this year. We are down a bit. I think, again, the RFP process has kind of slowed people down a little bit as far as their decision-making, which, again, is kind of why we're all here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And that I've actually, in studying the numbers since the last time that we were here, the original time that we were here, the numbers have bumped way up after members had seen the fact that the Board of Selectmen is obviously evaluating and considering golf and Yarmouth golf a valuable asset to the town and to the members and keeping it in-house. We saw a significant bump up in the memberships since our original report on March 26th, it looks very good. We are still trending behind a little bit. I think that also this might have a lot to do with there's been a lot of people that are still in Florida that have not come back to buy their memberships as well.
Yeah.
And
true.
To be perfectly honest with you, some of those who may have been back in the last couple of weeks with the weather that we've been having probably hasn't been a priority to race right out and get your membership. And to Scott's point, there are my husband and I being two, there are quite a few people who are on the payment plan who are just following along as we have every year. So our next payments, where you can count our memberships in the till as far as the total number, will be right around May 15th. Usually that's the priority in our house, so it may get paid a little bit sooner. But you'll see the numbers kick up again around that date as well. It's to my understanding as well, to Mike Stone's, Mr. Stone's question, you know, where is the date that we can determine that the majority of memberships have been bought? Over the years, I've noticed, just on a personal level, being with the GEC, that there's really not, they do slow down as you get closer to golf season because everybody wants to be out on the course. But as the summer goes by, it seems that people, as they come down, they still trickle in here and there and are still purchasing memberships. We'd like to see that number as well bump up a little bit, particularly in our Links membership and our seniors membership. Perhaps as more people are coming down to the Cape, more people are out in other towns, and they recognize the fact that our membership is now very competitive with the out-of-town resident memberships in other towns, that they'll be trickling in as well. So watching all these numbers, we're pretty confident that we're gonna get there. It may just be a little bit slower.
Okay, well, hope your optimism at this point is sustained going forward. That's
100% in,
yeah,
you know,
and
very
yeah.
optimistic.
Well, we all are, and you know, I think certainly there've been some suggestions about, you know, potentially having some sort of membership drive to try to attract some non-residents to try the courses, you know, and get them to do that, you know, at a, we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot, but for some people that wouldn't necessarily join otherwise, to try to come up with a package that might be attractive for them for this year as an intro, and then hopefully they would continue on in the future. So it's just something to put in the basket. I mean, right now we're you know, concerned. We want to have the courses be successful.
Absolutely. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think addressing the POS system sooner rather than later is going to be a very large step in that direction.
Yeah.
We just do not have the social media. We don't have the social media presence we need to really drive our new membership program. You can get it out in the press, and you can get it out on advertisements, and do as much as you can via Facebook as we can. But that social media aspect is playing so much more and more into day-to-day. I mean, everybody's here. TV used to be a big thing, but now people tape their shows and they race to the commercials. Right. So I think once we get on board with that particular marketing tool, that's going to drive us in an even more positive direction. I do have to say that, you know, after reviewing the numbers, and I know it may not seem like a big deal, but we just put in a Links membership to try to attract maybe the casual golfer that has a little bit more opportunity to use those Links course. And we'd like to utilize that particular course more because we feel like we're not getting the value out of it that we should. And we're, without any per se advertising, we're already up to 12 memberships.
Right.
And something that's completely brand new. To me, that's pretty optimistic that there are people out there paying attention and they're seeing the value of what we have to offer. So hopefully, once we kick it up a notch with social media, that will propel us into an even finer direction.
Okay. All right, other questions from the board?
Well, one of the things I have a problem with is the fact that putting it for a vote today is difficult for me because while I want to keep it in-house, if the people of the town do not support the $1,150 fee upcoming, we're going to have to look at things completely different. I mean, I'm hopeful that they do, but I would like to vote on this after town meeting, knowing that the people of this town support that fee, because without it, we really are we're in trouble. We need that.
Well, I think to address that point, no matter what we vote today, and we will vote, the board always has the prerogative, and future boards always have the prerogative to change direction. And I think everybody needs to know that. Even though we as a board may express confidence in our organization structure and management team, that can always be changed. It's not something that is written in stone. You know, we have to remain flexible, but I think it's important that the golf community know that you know, the board is supporting the enterprise fund and is willing to move things forward with our existing team.
If I could just add a little bit to what Tracy just said on the 1150, we had numerous member meetings on that, and we preached at. I believe Norm was at a few of those, and that was met with rave reviews. We had no backlash from it. Everyone was
Absolutely,
all in
but still has to
favor.
pass town meeting, and they're not necessarily, hopefully the members will show up, but
Yeah.
without that, we're
We have a
looking at a
good
different
GVC.
scenario.
We'll get everybody around the town meeting to make sure it does go through.
But further questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do have some observations. Mike, did you want to jump in? No. First of all, let me be clear. I was not among those clamoring to bring golf back on the agenda for tonight's meeting. I know there might have been some interest, but it certainly wasn't from me. We actually had other items that we had slated for this meeting. We had, I'm looking at some of the things that were bumped. We had a substance abuse action plan. That was among the topics slated for tonight. That's bumped. We had an update from the police department on their training facilities. I was hoping that tonight would be the night that we would hear that, but we didn't. And an update on library planning. How are we going to get consensus on the library? But here we are once again having another discussion about golf. And I'm like Tracy. I'm not supporting anything tonight. I think we need to deal with this in a much more thoughtful way, but we also we have other priorities as well. And so my concern is that this be an issue that we deal with in piecemeal and not look at this in a more thorough, more thoughtful manner. If we're going to consider the business plan for a town-run facility, I'd be particularly interested in having the full dimensions of it together. We hired a consultant named J.J. Keegan. I'd be interested in his assessment on whatever plan it is we've put together. We hired him to help us get the facilities in the black, to get them back on the right course financially. We spent a lot of money on him, and I value and respect his position, his opinion. So whatever the pieces are that have been strung together for tonight's discussion, I'm not going to support anything unless we have the opportunity to get some further advice and guidance, particularly from the consultant that we had, to assist us in getting this whole operation going in the right direction. So that's where I'm at. And I agree with Tracy. I think this is an item to be dealt with after the voters have spoken at town meeting. So.
Okay, Mike.
I think Tracy and Mark's points are well taken. However, on the other side of the equation, I think we have, although we didn't take a formal vote, supported keeping golf in-house and not pursuing any of the RFP recommendations. And I think by being hesitant to make a firm commitment by way of a vote works counterproductive to what the Golf Enterprise Committee and the town staff is trying to do in terms of bolstering membership and getting into some aggressive marketing initiatives and things like that. If I were on the Golf Enterprise Committee, I would be thinking I was receiving mixed messages, and that would affect my efforts, and I would feel that I'm being left in limbo. I fully, support them, and I think we should give them the chance to go forward and keep Yarmouth Golf solvent and in-house. I think we can do that. I think the longer we put off this decision, the harder it is for them to achieve that end result. So, I respectfully am not in the same camp with Tracy and Mark on this.
With all due respect, my comments are not in any disrespect to the Golf Enterprise Committee and their hard work at all. I think it's disingenuous for us to take a vote this week, have a vote at town meeting in the alternate next week, potentially, and then us go in a different direction. I don't think that that's fair.
I think we're losing sight of the urgency of the time in terms of people, the weather. It's getting to be the golf season. It's when people are going to come forth and buy into Yarmouth Golf. And I think that there's a small window of opportunity here. And it's very time sensitive.
Yeah, I think I spoke with Eric today. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today, and had some expression from members of the community with regard to the golf operations, and felt, and it had been expressed to him that there was need for additional clarity. I think at the last meeting, I summed up our meeting and said we want to move forward, and we're going to stay the course. And I was specific on that with regard to staying with our current management team and making sure that we addressed the plans that were needed in order to move our operations forward. And I think that's in process. I think that's being addressed. And you know, I fully support the approach at this point with our management team. And you know, if the board doesn't want to make a motion to move things ahead in that regard, I think it's a big mistake. I think the message to our community in terms of commitment to the management team, I think, is important. And this is a critical time period. The membership revenues are very much at risk in terms of reaction to what we do. Our community is taking a fairly significant risk with regard to an increase in fees that is significant in relation to what other communities are doing. And if we signal any kind of indecisiveness at this point, then that'll telegraph something, I think, that will be very unfortunate to our community.
I agree.
So I would, you know, I'd ask for a motion to support our current management team and to move forward. That's not saying that we would never look at that at alternatives again, but we have time to evaluate where we're going and what our results are. So
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'd move that we put this on the May 7th agenda.
I'm not sure I want to see another agenda item for golf at this point.
It won't take too long.
Yeah.
I'm not going to vote on it before town meeting, and it has nothing to do with my commitment to this staff. So.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a motion and a second. I'll second it.
What's the motion?
Want to repeat the motion?
Yeah, the motion is to formally vote to not to go forward with any of the RFP proposals and to continue with Yarmouth Golf as a town-run enterprise.
I'd ask again that we put this off till May 7th.
That's my motion.
Forward.
Okay.
It's fine.
Well, it can be brought up again on May 7th, but I think it's important to take a vote. So those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. It does not pass. Okay, let's move forward. Thank you, folks. All right, we'll move forward with assignment of articles.
You should have a handout in your packet that lists all the articles as they're presently situated for the warrant.
And this is one of the final processes in preparation of town meeting a week from Saturday. So we have 34 articles remaining, including the petitioned article. I believe they were moved by a board member in the past, so if you want to equally distribute them, I leave it up to the board to determine how you'd like to parse them out.
Some of these are moved by, are these all the articles?
Yes.
Okay. Some of these are typically moved, like capital budget would move their own articles. Any of the zoning articles are usually moved by the planning board.
Eric moved capital last year, but
They
that's not.
explained, we always move, they
You always
explain.
move them and then you
They
get
explain.
explanations.
I'm sorry, and I wasn't thinking of I'm sorry. CPC, I'm sorry. I misspoke. CPC.
I'll make a motion that we
Well,
have Norm take Articles 1 through 5.
Oh, thanks.
Always
right.
the chairman's job to read the long ones.
Yeah, I
the budget.
know, I know.
I'm sorry.
I'm fine with that. I know the first one is very laborious. And I think number 2, actually, the moderator goes down one item
do.
by item.
You do.
I don't think so.
Well, when he takes it in pieces.
He
If
takes it in pieces,
But
right.
you have to move
yeah.
the whole thing.
Right, yeah. That's not a big deal. $61 million worth of it. All right. Well, that lets me off the hook in a lot of other areas, so.
You can come back to those if you want.
Yeah, we're not there yet. 'Cause
Okay. Who wants to do the
I'll do 6
regional
through 9.
agreement?
I'll do those, 6 through 9, the schools.
6 to 9 schools, Tracy, okay.
Which ones are the bad ones? Because Eric's not here. We'll give those to him.
I think those are the ones in orange.
The withdrawn ones.
Well, we've got routine capital, water capital, and free cash that kind of go together. Collective bargaining agreements is kind of mixed in there.
I think those look good for Mike.
Mike, you like those?
I'll do them. Which ones are they?
Mikey likes them.
10 through 13.
Okay.
14 through 7 is, 17 should be Mark.
I'm what, 14 through what?
14 through 17?
Yeah.
Fine, whatever.
And then Eric
Okay.
should take the rest.
Game.
The rest of them, CPA, you just
All right,
moved.
wait a second. We got a bunch of withdrawn annual town meeting
So Eric
date
would be 19,
change.
22, 31, 32, and 33. 31, 32, 33 are CPA articles. He doesn't really have to
So
do anything but move
that's a
them.
nothing.
So
Yeah,
he
I'll
just
do
have
That's
19
the
and
committee
20.
itself,
I'll
right?
do those, yep.
Okay. All the way down through.
What happened, I'm sorry, what happened after Mark on 70? What happened to 19?
19, 22, 31, 32, and 33 should be Eric.
Yeah, but 31 through 33 will be.
Yeah, but he still has to move them.
Yeah, he has to move them. It's not a big
goes with
deal.
the
Eric move those? Okay.
It goes with a good flow to
So
keep
the
them
rest of
together.
that page, let me
It
just.
well, it continues down to 38, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
CPAs.
oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Second page.
Oh, you can't reconsider. Moving along. Zoning.
So we'll leave him through 38?
Yeah.
Yeah. Eric's through 38.
Okay.
Okay.
And then zoning is,
Zoning will be the planning board.
yeah. Those are all covered by individuals typically from planning or.
But we still move them.
I understand.
think
It's
so. I don't
a
think
short
so.
motion, but then
Yeah.
the discussion.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so who's going to take, I know you love zoning.
I will.
Tracy.
I'll take
Go
39
for
through
it.
43.
30 what?
39, 40, 41, and
So
43.
Tracy, okay, you got that, 39 to 43.
Nobody will be left there anyway. I hope I'm wrong.
All right. Oh, these are exciting, 44 and 45. General laws.
Those are, got Mike's name all over
Yeah, I
them.
know.
44 and 45.
You got it.
All right.
And then Beach and Capital Improvement Fund, Mark.
That's fine, I'll take that.
And annual golf fee
That's
increases,
you.
Mark.
No, that's you.
I'll do that. I'll do 47.
All right, you got it.
So 46 is Mark.
Yep,
47's back to Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
the
we're gonna give you
petitioned
plastic,
article.
Norm.
It did. Oh, no, we're, no.
We're going to have to make a recommendation on that.
I thought we'd leave that to Eric. You know,
All right.
he's due.
Give that to Eric, he's due.
No, that,
Come on, come on.
on the private petitioned article, won't they do that
I can't wait to hear his
Still have to move it
recommendation on
themselves?
that.
Won't they?
Usually, so we've done it two different ways. We've done it in the past where they've done it themselves, and then we've done it where we motioned it.
Well,
and then
well,
explained it.
well, the interesting part of doing it themselves is the last time that
Yeah, there was
happened,
no
nobody
second.
seconded it.
Yeah, maybe we should let the petitioner do
Well,
it.
just to let you know, it's likely that as recorded in the warrant, what they're going to propose is
It's
an
an amendment?
amended on the floor, so it's completely different language.
Did we check the town council on that?
We did,
Remember, we had a
actually-
discussion about that?
Yeah, we talked about it with the moderator too today, and
Can they do it?
yep, and actually what they're proposing to do is a better solution than what's in the book.
Yeah, they're gonna water it down.
And, you know, it's interesting, there's been,
You like that?
Unintended.
Oh, that's awful, Mark.
Hey, I just wanna see if everybody's awake here.
Oh, we're awake.
We're like, you woke us up.
All right, so we'll just let the petitioner do 49.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
all right. Well, there's been some interesting discussion in the media, in the newspapers, and talk radio and so forth about, you know, back and forth on the plastics issue, so.
Well, I see some on the desk here. I see some styrofoam, too.
I got both plastic and
Yeah.
styrofoam.
So-
Come on,
So
guys.
Mike's not
I'm
gonna
an
be able to
equal
bring
opportunity
buy
offender
these or get
tonight.
these
You
at
you
town
have
hall.
to, no, we
Apologize.
just can't buy it. Remember,
My
it's-
iPad has plastic on
the
it,
town
just for the
can't buy
record.
it. You guys can still buy
Nor
it.
nor can you sell.
Yeah, the town, no,
So
no,
on-
it was supposed to be just affecting
Distribute.
town government.
Distribute
Yeah.
or acquire.
Town property too.
Yep.
So that means at at the YD Red
Yeah.
Sox games, that's town property?
Forget that. We'll try the
I'm serious.
beach. Try the beach.
No, we had in Brewster, we had town council
So
look
we're gonna
at
have the
this.
police down
All
at
right,
the beach?
we're done with that. We're gonna move forward with land disposition committee charge.
So the board a few months ago, voted and passed the newly created land disposition policy. And to be able to start to review and accept land disposition requests, we need to establish the committee charge, which was outlined within the policy. So that draft charge is before you this evening, and we'd look for your approval on it.
I think Kurt's point was a good one, though. I know the planning board always has multiple assignments. I wonder
Yeah.
how many they're up to. Each of them probably has a couple.
Yeah, but the reason for putting the members like this is because we're looking to dispose of property, goes through an internal process, and these individuals and these committees were identified as experts or specialists in
I
the area of
understand.
concern for us. So although I can appreciate what Kurt was trying to say here, the reality was that these commissions are already intimately familiar with many of the parcels that will be in front of them. For instance, the Affordable Housing Trust Committee is on the hunt for available properties to build future housing. So they would be a natural. Anything related to open space, conservation, recreation, you can see the fit there. So it was hard to ensure that we hit the desire line, but we also wanted to make sure that it was a good cross-representation of the boards that hear land use cases on a regular basis or have an interest in them.
Absolutely, but it's still, I mean, it's,
You know, but to Kurt's point, you know, those people can participate in the committee without necessarily being voting members. I mean, there's, you know, if you got a situation where, you know, affordable housing is really interested in a piece of property, you know, I would think they'd send a representative to the meeting.
But they wouldn't be eligible necessarily to vote unless we put it into the committee charge.
Well, yeah.
And then you got to get a quorum, and that's also part of the challenge, right?
Yeah, no, I think there's considerable value into this. I think what we want to be able to do is to adequately screen and vet properties that are being reviewed for
Well, then we-
disposal. So from my point of view, I want to know what these folks have to say. I want
Absolutely.
to know, so I want them involved.
but there's
And
7 members on the planning board, and they're all probably on 2 or 3 committees. It's a big
Yeah.
burden to put on volunteers to add more responsibility
Yeah,
to.
This group would not meet that often, though. That
Yeah.
is critically important to
It's
point
kind of
out.
a- yeah.
There's a batch of properties that we have been percolating up that would activate, but once we get this underway, I can't see the level of commitment being more than 3 times in a year, if that. maybe twice.
Yeah, I would agree. So I'm very comfortable with the composition of this committee. I think for the purpose that we have described here, I think it has the capability of providing the board with the kind of information we need and we want to get in order to act on these properties or make recommendations. So I'm very comfortable with it, the way it's been written.
Why do we have to designate so many of the board members as from someplace, as opposed to, saying that we're going to try to find other people in the community that may not be from a specific.
Let me give you a perfect example as a for instance. This is all hypothetical. I've identified a location. It's 10 acres. It's heavily wooded. We have a $500,000 financial proposition for that site. Could be a solar farm, could be a housing development, it could be maybe some other like compatible use, but there's a significant dollar value associated with it. When we looked at running through a number of different scenarios, every time we went down a particular path, there was always going to be an interest group that we ran into that would have something to say, and they'd wanted to be able to weigh in on it. So one of the things we know from going on in the Cape, a heavily wooded parcel today, though it could yield us, say, $500,000 per year, for the use of solar farm, not particularly a popular choice these days on the Cape. They'd rather have it not be all taken away. So we would know that there's key boards, like open space would have something to say, for sure. The planning board would have something to say. Now, what if one of these parcels had a housing developer that wanted to punch in, let's say 20 houses, of which number 4 were affordable? Well, we know that there would be some tree removal that would have to go on, but would that project not, it would return good value to the community, but would not some of those other stakeholders want something to say? I would guarantee you, if it abuts conservation property, can we put some of that acreage in trust?
Yeah.
If it's, could we put some affordable housing in? I mean, so when you started running through a number of scenarios and what we've heard since we started working on this project, every one of these groups would be at the table, one shape, form, or another, to pick something apart. And the last thing in the world that we wanted was to have what happened 2 years ago at town meeting, in which we had 8 parcels, and it just got ruined because there wasn't stakeholder input, this kind of vetting. That's correct. And that's kind of the collection of commentary that we received going through this process.
All right. Well, why don't we move through the rest of the, I mean, we've seen this material before in terms of the
There's a lot of staff
policy and
support.
procedure.
Yeah, the staff screen is the first level. So
Yeah,
we let you know,
Okay, so it screens, but there's 3 different town administrator's office, community development, and finance. That means that all 3 staff have to attend the meeting.
Yes, it runs through, and again, I'm gonna go back to saying, there's probably, what I could say pretty confidently, a half a dozen parcels or more that we have some interest in. Once that goes through, this would be a rarely activated situation, although it would be available if another opportunity were to come by. I mean, I've always been mindful of the fact that, we don't make any new land anymore. So when a town actually owns land, it is a very thoughtful, deliberative, and painful process to discharge it. So we should have some great level of due diligence on it before we do. Leasing is different. Scrutiny is a good word. Leasing is definitely an option on some of these as well. But again, I don't see this, once we get through some of these initial levels of interest, I don't see this being a huge lift for anybody.
I just build on the staff point that staff will do a bulk of the work, and the committee members will be the ones that take that work and just say, you know what, this is a recommendation that we'd like to bring before the board. I'm meeting with Karen Green on Thursday to lay out what that staff process looks like, but the administrator's office, from our standpoint, is committed to taking a lion's share of that work effort to help reduce that burden on other staff as well as committee members.
All right, so what's the desire of the board at this point? We'll move forward with this and
I'd like to just make the observation that, you had mentioned this before with respect to golf, that we'll always have the ability to change things, right?
Yeah.
And I think with this, we should be mindful of the comments about the way this is set up and always keep that in the back of our mind. I think after a year, we take a look at this, see how it's working. But I would move that we go forward with the charge of the land disposition.
Appointments.
Sorry?
The whole committee's one-year appointments, so that will be easy to do.
Right. So I would move to adopt the charge as printed in our packet.
Okay. You have a second? Second? I'll second it.
Thanks.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Okay, move forward.
Thank you.
All right, we have approval of minutes, August 22nd and September 11th. Motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Executive session minutes of March 19th, 2019.
I'm going to request that these not be put in the public packet in the future. We'll approve and release, as we've always done in the past. There's no reason for these to be in public before we approve them.
I think that's normally been the intent. I'm not sure why that seems to have followed in this direction.
There might have been an oversight.
These should have not been in the packet? These should have just only been in your edition?
I didn't
Right.
think that they were in the packet.
They are. Okay. Yeah.
On the publicly posted packet?
Yes.
So I think we need to follow through on that. Okay.
It's on us.
All right. So do we have a motion on the March 19th, 2019 executive? Oh, we have more than that in.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
a
yeah,
bunch
there's
of
a
Well, on the consent agenda, these are old executive sessions that we reviewed the cases that they dealt with, and they're over now, so they can be
Okay,
fully
so those
released.
are-
You'd already previously approved them,
Okay.
but to hold them until business was done on those.
Okay.
So that explains it. Okay.
All right. So we'll approve. So we need a motion on the executive session minutes of March 19th, 2019.
Wait a minute. These say approved and released. You're telling me that...
There's some in the consent agenda.
Yes. The consent agenda items.
That's not what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with one executive session minutes for the March 19th, 2019. And then we'll move to the consent agenda in a few minutes.
Just as a point of clarification, the previous minutes that we just discussed did not appear in what was posted online. It looks like it was just a reference that it would be before the board under separate cover. Consent agenda ones, however, are published in the online version.
And those had been previously approved by the board, but they were held because business was still pending. Business is now over on those topics.
Everybody clear what we're doing now? We need a motion on the executive session minutes of March 19th, 2019.
Motion to approve and hold those. Yeah, approve and hold.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right. Upcoming agenda review. Not sure I see one in here.
Yeah, there should be one.
Is, yeah. Guess I lost it.
So May 7th is, we had identified as Grand Cafe will be back. We'll personally notify them as well.
The Grand Cafe Matter will be back.
The matter will be back.
Not necessarily the parties.
You certain of that?
Well, we're gonna make
place a bet?
I'll do a personal stop.
I think that wouldn't be a bad idea. Maybe send Phil down there.
Yeah. Maybe a cruiser.
Phil's got a good rapport with them, he does.
Well, he was planning on being
was
Thursday,
online.
so I would anticipate
online.
he'll be at the seminar Phil's holding on Thursday, because he had mentioned that he's aware of that meeting, so.
Right. Yeah, I'd probably go to that, too.
Okay, what else? I don't see for some reason in my set
It's,
agenda.
yeah, just on May 7th, there's I'll give you a little update on the herbicide situation. That doesn't ever seem to want to go away. Comcast, Chris will have some information on the Comcast process. Drive-in site committee has asked for a presentation on the policy. Kyle Pedicini from the Economic Development Planner, he'll be in to give you an update on his activities, and then Andy Machado will be here to talk about the commercial valuations update on that date. And then the 14th is another scheduled meeting, and then we have the 21st is town election, 28th is Memorial Day week, and then we don't have another meeting after that till June 4th, right?
So we have a meeting on Election Day?
No.
We don't?
No.
Okay, just checking. Want to make sure we're clear on that.
All right.
So that's
Any other items on the agenda? I know you had all those items you wanted to see on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's some point they're going to emerge soon.
They will.
They will?
I assure you.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move forward with individual items then. Anyone?
In terms of individual items, I noticed that we received, and I don't know if I'm speaking of the school here, but I wanted to just mention Kathy Bailey.
Oh, yes.
She submitted a resignation, and it sounds like she has a very, very exciting job that she's headed to. So I just wanted to publicly thank Kathy for all of her work on behalf of the town. She clearly had an energy level, a vision level, talent level that was incredibly impressive. I think served this community well, and I just wanted to put it out there that we very much appreciate all her hard work on behalf of the town. I know we'll have the opportunity, I'm sure, to thank her again and express our gratitude, but she did an amazing job. She was wonderful to have here. She was a great leader in terms of the committee appointments and things, incredibly helpful in recruiting talent to work on our volunteer committees. I could go on and on and on about all the great things that she's done for the town. But I just wish her well, and thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I concur. The only thing that's in our packet that I think is worth mentioning, because it's for Thursday, May 2nd, there is a public education awareness that I think the Board of Health is doing with the public schools about the dangers of vaping, and it's at the high school auditorium from 6 to 7:15. And this is quickly emerging as a huge issue in our high school. Kids are vaping in school, in the bathrooms, in class. It's really amazing. So I don't think that they're very understanding of the health effects and the side effects of this. So hopefully all the parents will show up and bring their children and learn the effects of vaping. Again, that's Thursday, May 2nd. And then tomorrow we have a meeting here, our pre-town meeting.
Oh,
No, Thursday. I'm sorry,
Thursday, I think.
Thursday. Thursday evening here.
There's
So
an affordable housing, a meeting tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock. Is there something in the, there's something on my calendar.
Thursday?
No,
What-
tomorrow.
So Thursday night, 6 o'clock, we're having it here,
Tomorrow
people?
is when?
Yeah.
I know, but I'm talking
okay.
about Thursday.
I only chuckle because at 1:30, if you're interested, Selectmen Post, that we'll be testing the Memorial Day sound system out front.
That would be
Hey.
wonderful.
All
I
right.
like that.
We're going to come for that.
I don't have, I have a finance committee scheduled for 6:30 tomorrow, but I don't see anything on affordable.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so what time does our
You know what I
pre-town
think you're
meeting
thinking?
form?
No, there's a,
6 p.m.
6
tomorrow
PM.
night I have on my calendar, there is a forum on the regional agreement
Oh,
De-
being held at the
Dennis
Dennis
is-
Senior Center.
Yes, Dennis.
I think that's what you might
Tomorrow?
be. Huh?
yeah,
Tomorrow?
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6 p.m.
Pre-town meeting is 6 o'clock.
Really?
Thursday here. So people, how can they get in touch with us to ask questions?
The pre-question deadline has expired, but we can open that back up, and people can email the selectmen's email. They can email my personal email. They can submit them via Twitter and Facebook. and they can come and join us on Thursday night at 6 PM here in the hearing room.
Okay, and so my other question for Selectmen items is about the leaves. We got an email about the leaves.
Oh, yeah.
I checked the recycling thing.
So I looked into that. I'll send you an email on that.
Replied to that?
I did. I
email?
replied to Eric. I didn't see the original email, but Eric had sent me what the policy is. So what had happened was when we installed the recycle sticker, leaves are considered compost. So it used to be prior to April of this year that if you had leaves, you were just directed to that part of the transfer station. That's now not able to go on anymore. So there was commentary that I got that it's likely over the years, residents, non-residents, and businesses were probably very liberally taking leaves over there. But now that they're checking for stickers, you either have to have a regular sticker or the recycling sticker. You could also buy a coupon for pay-as-you-throw with the leaves. So you can still drop them off. It's just now we have a way to get reimbursed to some degree. It's an expensive proposition. I was told today we're one of the last places on the Cape to take leaves because they're hard to get rid of.
I'll forward you the email.
All right, thank you.
Okay. The question, though, that somebody raised, and I don't have a specific memory of the meeting to answer it, is did we say that with the recyclables that we include leaves?
Yeah,
in that
so-
I didn't
discussion?
realize they were part of compost.
It's called compost,
It
yeah.
doesn't
I
say
didn't
leaves
realize
in the
that either.
Yeah, if you were looking for the word leaves, you wouldn't
I
even
was
notice
looking
it. Yeah. It took me like 4 reads to pick it up.
I remember discussion that a lot of these recyclables, like paper and other things, now cost us money, and therefore, why should we be letting people put those kinds of things in our landfill for free? I remember that, but I always thought with the leaves, they just left them there and they made compost and people could come and get it for free.
No, you can't.
Can't.
It's sold.
It's sold now?
That's a money-making operation,
No,
not
not-
town man money.
Yeah,
making, so-
it's not a really good proposition for us to be in that business, but what it is.
We sell that now?
Well, we have to pay a lot to have it trucked off, is actually what ended up happening. There was a period of time when it was actually activated compost, and there was somebody that had some interest in it, but it takes an awful lot of work to turn it into some valuable process.
So, all right, let's move forward here. Consent agenda.
Yeah, so on the consent agenda is a series of executive session meeting minutes that had previously been approved by the board that held. The matters that were the reason for being held have now expired. Most of them are Vineyard Wind related or collective bargaining, and that's now over. I will say that on the Vineyard Wind piece, there'll be a final decision in early part of May associated with the final EFSB siting approval process. So it's almost over from our perspective. And then there's some regular donations that we have and some to different departments, the police and recreation and Arbor Day.
I'm still going to ask that they not go in the public until we release them, please.
Yeah,
Well, that was why that's why I wanted to put them here, so
Yeah.
that I could get permission to release them.
Yeah.
Well, they're already released. They're in the public packet, so we don't have the opportunity anymore to say, no, thank you.
Well, I took it upon my own initiative because the legal matters that were at hand were over.
I understand.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Or any other items?
We have any
No,
other, Dan?
no other items, no.
Okay.
There's one thing, and I think Officer Magnuson alluded to it. He gives he's having one of his alcohol compliance seminars at the police station on Thursday, and he's having another one later in May, and it's just tremendous effort on his part, really, and the police department to try to avoid problems, try to educate people. Now, this particular seminar is for owners and managers. The Yarmouth Restaurant Association has its own for the servers. They're both excellent programs, but Phil's a great lecturer. He's very, very well versed in the law, in particular laws that relate to liquor compliance. And I just like to give him, I mean, he's a retired officer now, but he's still working part-time for the town, and he's still doing these programs. So we're really fortunate that we have him to do that. And last year, when I met with the ABCC officer who came down to speak as part of that program, said that Yarmouth was far and away ahead of any of the other towns on the Cape. And I think it's in large part due to Officer Magnuson's efforts. He does a tremendous job. So it's a great resource for all the businesses to be getting that kind of a presentation every year, and it's a real impetus for them not to have a lot of problems with this board.
Yeah.
So,
Deserves our thanks. All right, thank you. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We already have it.
second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.